Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Jim Cornette Experience. Today, the Strait of Stamford has been closed to wrestler traffic. The business has been banned in Berwyn, and the road to WrestleMania has hit some self-inflicted potholes. All that and more today, and joining me for all this, Hawaiian Brian, the podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard Podcast Network, Mr. Co-host to you. His opinions are so hot, you need asbestos earmuffs. Be great, Brian. Last, everybody.
Aloha, Jim. A pleasure to be here once again in Berwyn. Isn't it crazy?
Berwyn.
Anything you hear about that place, all you think of is Svengoolie. And yeah, I guess that's one of the many great things we'll be talking about here this week.
Well, you know, he is the man who made Berwyn famous, much as the Crusher was the man who made Milwaukee famous. But I'm feeling better a little bit mentally, Brian, in some ways, because I'm 2 weeks clean and sober now from AEW Dynamite. And I got it. It's much easier to read about than it is to actually watch happen, sort of like any other disaster like the Hindenburg, anything like that. But again, we're having people, oh, Jim, you get paid to do this, so we don't have to watch it. You got to watch it for us. Or this is the most fun we have every week is listening to you make fun of these people. What about me? What about my mental health? Everybody else gets to take a mental health day. Yeah, remember, Brian, are you old enough to remember when a mental health day was, where's Charlie? I think he's gone fishing. And then you came back the next day, and instead of the official name for it, it was like, fuck this shit type of thing. But anyway, I get some respite, don't I? Don't I have the stresses and the pressures of the world upon me, Brian, already running this empire, being the personality that I am, entertaining the masses in a variety of ways. I dance for your pennies, people.
Variety.
I dare you throw the pennies and I dance. Don't I get some respite?
I mean, you missed a banger this week. They debuted a whole bunch of people all at once, and that's always good. But maybe we'll talk about some of the highlights of Dynamite later. I will say.
Oh, yeah. I saw a picture of one of the highlights they debuted. Whoever debuted.
There were a lot of debutees on this show, but funny enough, now that you're not watching it. They look
more like debutantes.
Now that you're not watching it, the ratings went down like 100,000 people.
Well, I don't know, you know. I'm not trying to say there's a cause and effect, but more on that later as we get there. But Brian, I'm also grumpy. You know what the time of the year is, ladies and gentlemen around the world, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. It's tax time in America. Not morning in America, not a new day for America. It's tax time in America. And Brian, this ties into something that we've been talking about here recently with our friends across the pond, the matter of paying with checks, right? That was a couple of topics of our discussion lately.
It was all Grado's fault.
Well, that's what started that. But now our fucking system over here is being corrupted and convoluted. My accountant tells, oh, you got to pay online this year. They wanted me to before, but no, give it to me on paper like you have for the past 45 fucking years, right? But now they want me to pay online this year, everything. And I know some people may find this frivolous or foolish, but Brian, this is a kind of a ritual for me where even if I don't like spending the money, I enjoy that I've gotten it done. And it took for years. It's a 30-minute procedure. You sit down with your returns and your checkbook and you sign your returns and you write your checks and you put them with the payment coupons and you put them in a nice envelope, which your accountant has already addressed for you. It's so convenient. And you stick a stamp on there and you put the return address label on there, and you've got stacks of clean white envelopes with checks in them that have indicated that you have done your duty as an American citizen and you're straight with the fucking government. Nobody's going to be coming looking for you. And then you take them to the post office. You've taken 30 minutes, sit down with a cold Sprite, taking 30 minutes to prepare these things. You've got a feeling of accomplishment. Put them in the mail. You're fucking good, right? Easy peasy pumpkin pie. But now, no. Now,
they've made it easier. What are they thinking?
Well, no, it's not easy. For the past couple of years, instead of me just mailing my return in with the check and the blah, 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 and also the payment coupons and the estimates and things, this is a procedure for us self-employed people. The CPA says, no, just sign this thing, sign this signature page thing, and we'll file the return electronically. And then because you want to, you can still send your check. But that means that we tried signing the thing electronically, and that flummoxed up some kind of way, Stace not both. So it ended up that she took a picture of the paper that we signed and sent it to them. And then they've had me doing this shit with the state online, which...
Now that'll be a bigger pain in the ass usually than federal. Yeah.
The first 2 times I tried that, it wouldn't work. And I called him. I said, what the fuck am I not doing? Oh, no, we've had other clients call in and say that it's not working. So I sent him a fucking check. My standpoint on the matter is if I owe you money and I'm giving you a check that's good for that money, then you should leave me the fuck alone. If you want my money, you're going to get it the way that I want to give it to you. But again, what the fuck is... No, we want $20,000 from you, but we want it in fucking pennies.
They're specifically not asking for that.
So they're making it as hard as possible. And then
you have to electronically sign. That doesn't mean you have to. I mean, if you didn't pay with the electronic signature, they send you a bill, don't they?
Well, I don't know what the fuck would happen. I don't know. They're changing everything. Change is bad. And now I'm going to have to sit there for all of these things, city and state and federal and estimates and everything online with a knot in my stomach, convinced that it's either not going to work and they're going to send somebody after me, or I'm going to fuck this up some kind of way and never get my money back, or what the fuck is... I'm not dealing with any rational fucking exchange here. It's all going through this thing. The internet can do what they want. They may apply my payment to some guy in fucking Bolivia. And then I'm worried that I've fucked it up, and I'm worried they're coming after me, and I'm worried that goddamn somebody's going to knock on the door and say, you.
Well, first off, I haven't heard anything about Bolivians not paying their state taxes, so maybe you're okay worrying about that thing. But, I mean, this is just one of the parts of the changing world where everything's now done electronically. I was under the impression you could still mail checks. That wasn't an issue, but maybe that's new for this year. I don't know, but, you know, you're kind of an auditor's nightmare. Like an aggressive auditor. Like an auditor who wants to, like, hurt people. Because you got everything. You got everything like, laid out nicely in folders. No one has that.
That's the thing. Even my accountant says that I'm one of the people who gives them the most detailed information they'll ever get from anybody. Because every time I spend anything over $5, I write it down in my book. And anytime I get paid anything, I write it down in my book, and I do monthly breakdowns, and then quarterly breakdowns, and then exactly what everything goes for. And it's all right there on paper, and I have these notebooks going back over 20 years.
If the wrestling business hadn't been a thing for you, do you think you would have been a successful accountant?
No, because I hate math. I just like money.
But just not other people's money, your own money.
No, if it's not mine, I wouldn't give a fuck to count it. But if it's mine, I'm trying to keep an eye on it. And I like to do things the normal, traditional way where everybody knows what's going on and there's a fucking paper trail.
Well, I'm sure your accountants appreciate all the extra work.
Well, they enjoy the interaction. They enjoy the interaction.
Yeah. Man, every accountant I know is miserable right now. This is like their worst time of year.
No, but they enjoy the interaction with me on a regular basis. So they know how I am.
Have you given them a figure or a shirt or anything?
I was about to say, they usually give me the figures. See my account and see what I did there? Actually, there have in the past been a few figures and books and things passed around. But nevertheless.
All right.
Real quick, we want to, this has been tax talk. Yeah. And I ain't happy about it. But I want to recognize a couple of people in the cult of Cornette who have written in. Dylan from Washington State just wants to thank me and you, Brian, for distracting him. His father passed away, I guess, in early February after a blood clot from a routine hernia surgery. Ooh. And again, that's what I freak out over all of these type of things. And he actually mentioned, Dylan did, that the first episode that he listened to after his father passed away, we were talking about Braun Breaker's hernia and my hernia surgeries. And so anyway, I can't imagine, Dylan, how you feel, but thankfully we've been able to distract you. But I want to recognize your dad.
My condolences, Dylan.
And again, I just hate to go off about the medical field these days, but they can transplant assholes from one to the other and, take your brain out and fucking pressure wash it and put it back in or whatever. But you can also go in, you see it all the time. There's headlines in the news from so-and-so having surgical procedure in a strip mall. You never know what the fuck. That's what.
Yeah, that is.
They have to put me to sleep to get my teeth out every once in a while because I'm not having that happen when I'm awake, but I'm never real happy about doing it either. You never know about these things. It's like the pilot of your plane. You want to interview the anesthesiologist. Okay, how many fingers am I holding up? Can you count backwards from 10? Are you all right? How did I get on this?
Do you remember Weird Al did a version of James Brown had Living in America, and then Weird Al did Living with a Hernia? And instead of I feel good, it ended with I feel bad.
Yes, I remember that. I heard it once, and then, I've got horrible fucking feelings about that subject, so I just stay away from it. Anyway, also from Matthew from Boston. He wanted, if we could, a quick dedication on the show. His black lab, Jude, passed away at the age of 14. And they both listened to the show together. But listen to this. For over 7 years, he served as an empathy dog at a local nursing home while Matthew was working as a physical therapist. So Jude was there to comfort the old folks. And
that's nice.
He would also get an entrance promo. Hailing from parts unknown, he's rude, he's crude, he's the pup with attitude, he's the Jude. And that would make his tail wag. So we hate to hear about his loss, Matthew, but at least he was spreading joy to not only just the family, but also folks around him. Hey, Jude.
Just be thankful it wasn't Vern Gagne's retirement home that he was sent.
Oh, my God. Now, see, you got to.
Oh. That dog looks like Moose Cholak. I got him.
It's suplex. You've constantly got to just be crass, Brian, when we're trying to have these moments here. They got on us on the interwebs the other day when you and I both said, even with Danhausen, we try to like the guy, but the cursing of the referee was up there with teleportation. And as a Brian and Jim just hate fun. How many sillier shows are there actually than ours when it comes down to it?
No, this show is pretty stupid. I know. When you really think about it.
When you really think of it, we just have some just asinine fucking things that we go through here. And we love fun. We just not with the goddamn, that's like, I don't want the person giving me the anesthesia to be having fun. That's where we need some seriousness. Give us our seriousness.
And I saw some of this, and we'll talk about it here, I guess, real quick. Because, again, we were at least a couple of the parties responsible for Danhausen becoming popular way back when. Because we were focusing on his cameos and everything, and
yes,
they got a big reaction, and we enjoyed them. And then he got signed to AEW, and they put him on the shelf for 4 years, whatever the hell happened there. I like the idea of Danhausen. I like that he tries to apply logic in his own way to what he's doing. But when we hear from people like, you don't get it, he's not cursing anyone, it's all coincidence, it's happening, and I don't care, it's still the same point of stupidity, whether it's him causing it or the referee just suddenly has a spastic hand and he can't fucking do anything. It's the same stupidity applied whether it's the Magic doing it or not. It's the same stupidity. And then, oh, you're supposed to see him walk away. It illustrates that he doesn't actually have magic. Listen, I like the guy. I'm happy he has a job. I try to enjoy his segments. You can also call out when things go too far on the stupidity scale. And yeah, even though the referee's hand, we can't directly say that we saw a lightning bolt leave Danhausen and cause his hand to seize up on him or whatever the hell was happening there. It's one step up from the Invisible Man in my eyes. And
well, we saw that episode of the Andy Griffith Show when we were kids, how Gomer and Barney were fooled by the coincidences after they had discovered the curse of Countess Vandelecki. Oh, but that's the problem, is that I guess wrestling fans used to be the ones that were the most offended when they saw just really silly shit it was silly. It was like, right? They were the ones most offended because it was bullshit. And now they're like, it's supposed to be silly.
If you were born in 2000 and you're a 26-year-old wrestler now, you grew up seeing the worst of Vince McMahon's stuff. After he became a billionaire, after his ego was completely out of check, after the Attitude Era, that really bad period of time, it normalized all the stupid stuff. You know, for everything bad we can say, and I'm not a big fan of it, and you were involved in it, you're not a big fan of it, The Undertaker dying and flying away.
Oh.
That was like a one-off in a way. It wasn't like they replayed it over and over and over again. Like, he died, he went away, we had to wait for him to fly back. But the backstage segments, the bad comedy, the adults acting like children, all of these things are all symptoms of McMahonism over wrestling creative since the year 2000. And unfortunately, if you're a kid who grew up watching wrestling, you had that, you had TNA, maybe eventually somehow you discover a Ring of Honor or a New Japan or something, but you more than likely had WWE, maybe TNA, which was always kind of copying WWE, whether it was Russo there or not. There was always an element of, even when things were kind of going good, oh no, they're going to bring this person back, or oh no, they're doing always.
I remember after Vinny Roo, it actually got worse, if that's possible.
You know, for all the snobbery you see with the modern crop of AEW fans or whatever it is. And remember, these are the same people cheering for the Joey Ryan penis druids at All In.
Boy, that doesn't make the highlight reels anymore, does it?
It does. That was Adam Page's match, I believe, too, if you want to talk about someone associated with Joey Ryan there. But the point is, they like their stupid shit, too. They just want it to be their stupid shit. And it's all based on what Vince McMahon got away with when he had a monopoly, and he got stupider and stupider, and we haven't gotten away with it. And I hate to lump Danhausen in with that, but Danhausen is kind of an end result of thinking that a character like that could work on a wrestling show. It wouldn't happen without all that. If Bill Watts, or anyone, I hate to use Bill Watts, but if any other wrestling promoter had somehow come up with a product that had beaten WWE and gotten to the turn of the century, I don't think the wrestling we see today would have as much silliness and bad creative and just the layout of WWE shows, and that actually goes into the layout of TNA shows, and you could argue a big influence over Tony Khan. And that's I went on, and I apologize, but
this kind of leads into what we're going to talk about next. But to put a button, as they say, I found a button. To put a button or a period on what you just said, I agree with you. It's that, for lack of a better word, or for lack of a better analogy, I should say, the guys who get into the business reflect the business of the time where they were kids watching it now more than ever, because since it didn't really, the foundation of it, the concept of it didn't change for 100 years. So everything was fine. And then suddenly, like you said, everything becomes all about Vince's weirdness and sports entertainment, and these kids grow up seeing this and they think that this was the way possibly that it's always been done, and there's nothing wrong with it, and they don't understand that they do things regularly that would have gotten them pummeled by the entire locker room and kicked in a ditch in the back of the building, and just like, whoa, let's do this.
It used to be that wrestling was presented as this wacky sport that took place in the real world. And these people were over the top, but they were serious. And every now and then, and again, depending on what territory or eventually what company, you saw silliness, but it didn't mean it was overwhelming silliness. And it went the other way to the point where the shows in a lot of respect feel silly. The only thing that really stands out is when someone gets serious. When CM Punk does a serious promo, that gets people talking. And to me, that's just one of the things missing. There's no reason why WWE's feuds and booking and all this stuff there's no reason they can't get rid of the silly shit. It doesn't draw anyone new in, and it doesn't hold people more than serious professional wrestling storylines. I'll get off my soapbox, I'm sorry.
Well, watch out stepping down. It's a long step, but there's another related subject, because we talked about guys getting into business emulating what they grew up watching. We can thank, in large part, my old friend Paul E. for ECW for popularizing garbage wrestling. And I'm not saying that all ECW was garbage wrestling, but I have said before that all a lot of people took out of it was that it was garbage wrestling, because it seems like that's what was emulated over and over and over again, ad nauseum, whether it be table breaking or the whole shebang. And I've always also said that I was against most of that, because besides the fact of the furniture and the fucking bullshit like that doesn't work with you and people get hurt and it's stupid and unrealistic, it also costs you in other ways. And that's still happening, because they just announced this past week that after one of these hardcore wrestling events, it was Ruthless Pro Wrestling. I tried to look them up, but they blocked me on Twitter, I guess, in the first ever preemptive block, imagining what I would say, because I didn't know they existed, right? But they ran the Berwyn Eagles Club, which Berwyn is a suburb of Chicago, and our friend Svengoolie, as we mentioned earlier, has made it famous. But there's the Eagles Club. It's one of these buildings that seats, I don't know, is it 500 people or whatever it seats, that has hosted indie wrestling in the Chicago area for 20 years now. And all different kinds of the various companies, whatever the fuck. But apparently this is a death match, garbage wrestling fucking mud show group with a bunch of fat fucking tattooed guys with fake belts over their shoulders and pictures of them bleeding Because in their minds, when they show that to the fucking local meth dealer, they can brag that they're as tough as Stone Cold Steve Austin or whatever these people's issue is. And whatever the kind of crowd is that they draw to see people bleed and break glass and light tubes over themselves and be fat fucking tattooed guys with fake belts. That crowd. They either did a fake stabbing or a real stabbing, or a fake stabbing to cover up a real fight, or whatever the fuck that they did at one of these outlaw shows between these fake tattooed fucking fat fucking guys, Brian. And they involved, then I guess it got the building's lawyers and or the city involved or whatever. And they just said, fuck it. No more wrestling of any kind in our building anymore. No way, no how.
There was no question anywhere in there. I don't know what you want me to say about this. I have here a report from the Wrestling News covering this incident.
They've got some wonderful correspondence over there.
That's right. You can hear it at the WrestlingNews.com, wherever you find your favorite podcast. A long-running independent wrestling venue in suburban Chicago is closing its doors to wrestling after fallout from an alleged stabbing incident at a recent event, according to F4W Online. The Berwyn Eagles Club in Berwyn, Illinois, has hosted hundreds of shows over the past 22 years, from groups like Shimmer, All-American Wrestling, Black Label Pro, and GCW, but will be housing just one more upcoming AEW show on April 24th. The decision comes after an incident that occurred during a show in late March by deathmatch promotion Ruthless Pro, during which wrestler Cruel was originally alleged to have been stabbed by a fan, leading to an assault on the fan from several wrestlers. Some, such as GCW promoter Brett Lauderdale, have voiced doubts that the stabbing even occurred. After the Eagles Club canceled GCW's scheduled June 20th show at the venue, Lauderdale took to social media and declared, and this is a quote, "This was directly caused by an incident, the fake stabbing, that took place at another promotion's event, which has caused the town, lawyers, and police to be involved. It's truly a shame to see the Berwyn Eagles and 20 plus years of Chicago wrestling history come to an end like this."
Now, I did just pause 1 second.
And that's the promoter from GCW.
When the owner of Garbage Championship Wrestling comes out and says, oh, this is a sad, sad day that these people couldn't behave in a fucking... That's... I don't know what to say. Is that the end of the news story there?
That's the end of the news story. This happened a little while ago because tons of people started sending us the footage, and it was one of those things where you don't see a stabbing, you just see a bunch of people attacking someone. You couldn't even tell if it was a work or not.
Well, yeah, because everybody was just flailing around and fucking... You also couldn't tell who the wrestlers were and who the fans were. And because the wrestlers were wrestling in the same fucking clothing that the goddamn fans were wearing watching the wrestlers wrestle. That's why it was meaningless, but there was no like stabbing, like, oh my God, I'm stabbed. He stabbed him. It's just a bunch of fat fucking tattooed guys yelling at each other and fucking with each other. And the one thing that we know is that everybody in today's modern age knows that this is all a bullshit work. So it's not like the heel got enough heat that the fucking fan came out of the audience to stab him to save the baby face. It was two fat fucking tattooed guys yelling at each other to begin with. And then a bunch of people beat the one guy up. So are they saying, well, he stabbed my friend so 8 of them could beat him up? And then here's the problem. There's 8 fucking wrestlers and nobody knew how to fucking fight. And besides that, the whole point of this is that this place was even, were so committed to hosting wrestling, they would even host deathmatch wrestling, which is what's next? Biting the heads off chickens in the parking lot. But then they managed to fuck that up. They got in such a goddamn deal with nobody to prevent it or tell anybody not to fucking do it, whether work or shoot, that they got kicked. They got everybody, the entire business, kicked out of a building that's been holding wrestling for 20 years because that was too much. That we don't want these people involved, or we don't want these people in our fucking building kind of thing. It's not worth the fucking trouble, which is this. I don't know what kind of people would go to a goddamn place that would willingly host this death match wrestling bullshit. You just know it's waiting for something to fucking happen.
So just to go back to what this is, because I'm still unsure, even though I watched the video and I just read what I read. Was the fake stabbing that there was no stabbing and the wrestlers made up a stabbing because they wanted to beat up this fan? Or was there a fake stabbing off camera for some sort of weird angle? Like, what exactly is the fake stabbing?
I don't know, and I assume that will come out as part of the
lawsuit.
The lawsuit or a court process or whatever the fuck's involved here, or maybe they'll just all go crawl back in their hole. But again, that's the thing that I always preach because I've seen it happen to other people, and or it had businesses trying to overcome it with issues with in OVW when I first got here. I was told, well, because of Ian Rotten and all that bullshit and blood flying and stupid nonsense in front of children, you can't have wrestling in the National Guard Armory in Indiana anymore. Rip Rogers couldn't even get to one in Seymour because it came from whoever the head of the National Guard Armory may be, because of the bad publicity from this garbage. Or you get, go back to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. The people in East Tennessee, the schools and the high schools, elementary schools in the small towns, the gyms in that part of the country, they hadn't been burnt by hardcore wrestling. They didn't have that then, but it had been outlaw mud shows that caused a problem, didn't have insurance, didn't provide what they advertised, was just a fucking mess. And we had to overcome that stigma with a lot of, hey, we're legitimate and you can see us on TV and blah, blah, blah. Because already that was limiting the places that you could present wrestling. And it's not that vintage of a problem. Remember when I was at MLW that night at Milwaukee? Who was the little fat fucking guy? What's his name? Goddamn hit Edwards with the baseball bat. I've lost the little warthog fellow in MLW, Brian.
I know who you're talking about. I don't remember the name.
Sami Callahan.
Yes.
He's the one because he went around in the Falls Count anywhere, but he went around doing shit that they told him not to do with the building bleachers and shit and broke stuff. And the building got mad and they fired Callahan, whatever, they blame me. But Cincinnati Television that Jerry Jarrett couldn't get after the Sheik had gone out of business because the TV station, the general manager kept the tape of the Sheik close up, cutting the job guy's head with the razor blade. It just depends. What was the arena? It doesn't even matter. But the arena that the AEW pay-per-view was in where dipshit shoved the syringe through fuckwad's face.
Oh, I thought you were going to go in a different direction. I don't remember which arena that was.
Well, but okay, let's say that the building manager just said, wait a minute, we're a goddamn major arena in a large metropolitan city and we're hosting a show where they're puncturing each other. Let them do that down at the down in the Highlands or whatever at some fucking club. It some way somebody can be offended. You never know till you try. But whether it's big or small, this is the kind of thing that harms wrestling in the long run because you lose venues or you lose TV or you lose a sponsor or you lose whatever because you just do stupid, obnoxious, blatant shit that you don't need to do. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't. We talked about it a little while back. Not saying Dennis Carluzzo was perfect, but with Dennis, he understood you don't want to lose your buildings, and there kind of has to be a serious-ish person to deal with everyone. And with a lot of these indie companies, again, that's just one indie promoter I'm talking about, and it's a different era of independent wrestling. Do any of them wear a suit? Do any of them have a blazer? I'm not saying these are like be-all, end-all things, but is anyone a serious person who actually makes money anywhere, or is it just a wrestling fan who's a goof who knows other wrestlers and they can do a goofy show? I think that's one of the problems. You don't have a lot of serious promoters out there.
You know what Adam Pearce used to tell a few of the guys in Ring of Honor when he was the booker and we had to go to Canada, and there was certain people who might have, and this was before I was even one of them, but there was certain people who might have an issue going across the border. He would put them in the car with him and he'd say, okay, boys, let's put a shirt with a collar on and some slacks and go across the border and tell them we're going to go entertain some people and look like something instead of this fucking carload of holy shit. Look at that t-shirt. We better question them for 6 hours. And it's but again, I'm not saying that everybody has to show up at the building. I'm not trying to put the dress code in like Vince had or whatever. Yeah, you got to walk across the street from your hotel to the building at 11 o'clock in the morning. Vince wanted you to wear a goddamn jacket. That's a little excessive, but there needs to be at least some element.
A promoter who isn't a slob.
A promoter who's not a slob, some elements of goddamn structure in place at any show so that the talent is not just a bunch of guys that got together for hey kids, let's put on a deathmatch show. And you're just allowed to have this kind of interaction with the fucking fans to begin with when it's not like some guy has lost his mind and dives in the ring to stab somebody. It's you're standing there, your fucking wrestler's yelling at this fucking guy and he's yelling back. But that's the kind of death match type of thing that, again, there's all kinds of way you can offend people with your show in the death match, aspect, or you can, because you've got guys that grew up thinking that was cool to break furniture, or you can offend people because you grew up when wrestling was supposed to be fucking silly. But either way, that's kind of why we're in the position we're in. And the whole business, Brian, go ahead, put your period on it, my friend.
Well, I was just going to say, we're talking about promoters. And if this really was the wrestlers beating up a fan, I mean, someone told me it was for something the fan said online. I don't know, but...
See, that's the thing. Like any of the boys at a legitimate show would know what the fan had said online. God damn it. I'm sorry.
But I don't know. But the point is, there's a whole lot of people need to be put in a rocket ship and sent away from the wrestling business. That's my point. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say the whole dadgum thing, Brian, the whole dadgum thing has gone to the dogs. It's gone to the dogs, but not in a good way, because you wouldn't want to feed your dogs such effluvia and dreck as is foisted off on the modern pro wrestling fan. You wouldn't want to feed that to a dog. You want to take care of the poochies, the puppies, the little babies. So you want to feed them the quality food like you would feed yourself or those you love because you love them, and that's why they love you. So instead of dishing out the garbage championship wrestling version of dog food, see our friends at Sundays for Dogs.
Yeah.
At sundaysfordogs.com, because every day is a Sunday for your dog when they're dining. You know, over in the United Kingdom, they what is it? It's a Sunday lie-in, or is it a lie-about? A lie-in of a sleep-in. It's not a sleep-in or a sleepover. On Sundays, they lay in the fucking bed on a Sunday morning, and then they get up and they eat a roast, apparently. That's one of the things they do over there. But what you want to do, folks, is get up and give your fucking dogs a roast. Not literally, but figuratively, because the Sundays for Dogs dog food combines being fresh and healthy with easy to store and serve. It's not just the dried out dreck with the sawdust and wood shavings and mulch and cedar bark that you might find in some of these cheaper brands. It's good human quality type of stuff with no fillers and synthetics because it was made by a veterinarian and a mother. It still doesn't say whether she's the mother of a dog or the mother of an actual child. If she's the mother of a dog, she's probably happier and has more time, and that's why she's made this food.
That has to be what it is, because otherwise it doesn't really apply to this specific product, the wonderful dog food from Sundays for Dogs. I can tell you we have to get a new box soon. Swami loves it, and he devours it.
He devours it because it is air-dried real food made in a human-grade kitchen using fresh and human-like ingredients. Actually, some parts of the Sundays for Dogs may indeed be humans. If you fall too
there
close
it is.
to
See, I try to let you kind of play around by the line, and then you jump.
Well, they did have that one employee that fell too close to the grinding machine. But
I think that's what happened to the Joker and Batman. Let's not. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't know what happens in the factory, but we guarantee it's not humans.
We don't know what happens.
We guarantee, it's a guarantee that it's not humans. It's wonderful human-grade dog food, as you said, cooked in a human-grade kitchen, as opposed to all those other kitchens, whatever that means.
There's information here. It's not like a Waffle House kitchen. You don't need to worry about that. But every bite of Sundays is clean and made from real meat, fruits, and veggies with no kibble. No weird ingredients you can't pronounce. So see, that's why there's no freezer, no thawing, or no prep. As you said, you just sprinkle it out of the box. And hey, if something spills over and the kids pick it up, well, it's human grade shit. So, as a matter of fact, it may, in these tight times, reduce your family food budget if the kids develop a taste for it. I'm just saying that's an option that you could explore and you wouldn't need to feel like you're poisoning anybody. But folks, right now, make the switch to Sundays. Go right now to sundaysfordogs.com/JCE50. And Brian, guess how much they're going to get? 50% off your first order.
That's a deal.
That's the code JCE50. You use it at checkout or whatever. 50% off your first order at sundaysfordogs.com. And again, they could go ahead and open up a branch, sundaysforkids.com, and maybe just change the box.
Maybe they're not going to do that. I don't know why we would propose changing their business model right now, because it's so successful. And of course, if you're a dog, so delicious. Once again, Jim, Sundays for
If you're
dogs.
a dog listening out there right now, if you are a dog listening to this podcast, I think we need to say no more to you. I think you're firmly convinced that you need to be eating. So right now, puppies, go to sundaysfordogs.com. JCE50 is the code that's going to get you 50% off your first order, and all the poochies in the house are going to feel better. Less itching, better mood, better poop. See? That's what a lot of people are testifying to, that they've had experience with when they start eating these Sundays for Dogs, is all these a better, softer coat. So no eye boogers is a big deal, but better stool.
Okay,
That's poop to the layman. Stool is the scientific name for poop.
Once again, I think we all appreciate all these other things you're saying, but once again, to end, let's focus on the big news. Great food for your great dog. Sundays for Dogs. We trust it here in this house. Swami looks forward to it whenever I shake that box. Jim, one last time, that promo code for a great deal.
Shake, 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 shake your box. Shake your box. Sundaysfordogs.com, JCE50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Where are we at here?
We are at your show.
All righty then. I've got an email here, Brian, from from James from Spokane. And I've been to Spokane. As a matter of fact, one time in my life, I believe it was Spokane. Is Spokane the one that's straight across from Seattle if you're going from the coast inland?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, fuck that fucking place. I drove through 3 feet of fucking snow to get from Raw to the next night's TV taping, whatever we were taping the next night after Raw in those days, syndication or whatever. And it looked fine in Seattle, and Spokane had 3 feet of fucking snow. Anyhow, James says, and Brian, this may be a good topic for you as well with your territory wrestling mind. But we were just talking about some people have grown up just being used to what they're seeing now. And James says, I've been a big fan for years. Thank you to Brian and you for all you do. Question, can you break down the differences between no holds barred, falls count anywhere, no disqualification, and street fight matches? I've long felt that companies use these interchangeably, but I wonder about the intended differences between these match styles. And that's true. Now, I guess many of the fans have forgotten when there wasn't just, oh, here's tonight's Falls Count Anywhere match. Like there was one on every program. Or that here's the dreaded no disqualification in 6 out of the 8 matches because of some reason or another. And the whole idea of stipulations in the territory days and in the history of wrestling, even before the territory days, all up until, like you said earlier, everybody just wanted to copy Vince McMahon's weird vision of wrestling. Like the punishment had to fit the crime, the stipulation had to fit the match, the participants, and the booking of the participants and how they got there. Does that make, in other words, the fucking easiest and most age-old stipulation of wrestling was 2 guys go to a time limit draw. They come back the next week, either with no time limit or just a longer time limit. That's a stipulation. Or if a guy got disqualified, you came back the next week with a rematch with no disqualification. Where the champion can't get himself disqualified to weasel his way out of losing his title, or he wants to hit me with a fucking chair. Well, I can hit him with a chair and I can't get disqualified. Neither one of us can. I can give him a taste of his own medicine. That's the simplest kind of stipulation that's age old and from the very start was involved in the wrestling business. And then over a period of time, other things started to be established based on when they drew someplace, either a guy that was involved in it would go someplace else and take that idea with him, or a promoter would hear about it and do his own thing. And bookers would go from place to place and spread different matches around. But Brian, I'll let you jump in, but is it safe to say that originally the idea of having a stipulation to any match was not just to have guys in a match like that, but to make special rules to fit what had happened between those 2 guys?
I mean, that's pretty precisely what it almost always was. Now you see matches where we review them, and it's no DQ or anything goes or falls count anywhere. They're all the same at this point. But we ask ourselves, what caused this? Have we seen them have a singles match before this? And sometimes it's just, hey, let's do this match. Maybe they feel like the gimmick is a bigger draw or more of an interest than the actual people in the match who would be having a regular match. It's something everyone over relies on now. And again, it has to mean something. Now we just see, Adam Page's thing is the Texas Death Match because he's from nowhere near Texas. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, everything kind of made sense in a way. went to a 60-minute draw. We're going to go 90-minute time limit next week. Doesn't mean you're going to go 90 minutes. But now stipulations are as much a draw, maybe, in the promoter's eyes, in Tony and Triple H's eyes, than an actual match with the same participants.
Well,
whether or not there's reason behind it or not.
And that's the thing is, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Are the WWE and AEW both in the position now with their television, their stars, their exposure at various levels, their cachet in the industry? Would they pretty much be doing the same business if they dropped half the gimmick matches they have? And the answer is probably yeah. Because that's the thing is that they have even been programmed that everything has to be a gimmick match. And I remember in Ring of Honor when Sinclair had bought the thing, we were debuting live in a new town, and Gary Jester called us, said Hunter was Delirious was the booker and I was the producer, and Gary Jester called, said, well, can we put a cage in there? Like it was 20 years before that. And just because there was a cage match, that was good. Oh my God, we've got to go. They see cage matches on every indie goddamn show. All of this gets prostituted to where the promotions use it as a crutch because they think that's just the way they're supposed to do it. And the boys have fun doing it. I don't know. But again, at some point, there was logic to stipulations when they were presented. You could even have the same match meant different things in different parts of the country, because if Ivan Koloff was a specialist at the Russian chain match, but if they'd been in East Tennessee, it was a Tennessee chain match because Whitey and Ron had done it. But the Wahoo McDaniel had the Indian strap match, but so did Chief Billy Red Cloud before him and fucking Indian wrestlers before that. But baby faces and some heels would get a specialty match that they would carry from territory to territory. And if they had a 6 month or a year run in a territory, maybe they'd build up to do 1 or 2 of them. And I'm not talking about at all. I mean, in any market, they might do the house shows every night for 3 weeks, but each market would only see it once. And even if a match wasn't tied to a particular wrestler, maybe it's because in Amarillo, Dory Funk Sr. had gotten the Texas Death Match over, whether he invented it or not, or just popularized the modern name rules, etc. You would put them in the ultimate match. In Amarillo would be a Texas Death Match, but in Florida it might be inside the steel cage, or in somewhere else it might be the street fight, which was come dressed as you are, and anything you've got, your blue jeans, cowboy boots, your belt buckle, anything you got in your pockets, insinuating brass knuckles or chain, whatever. But if Dusty was over in the territory, Florida, Carolinas, because he had the John Wayne lean to him, it wouldn't be a street fight, it'd be a bunkhouse match, because that was the way they came to fight in a bunkhouse, the Cowboys. But it's the same fucking rules. But just like a triple threat. I don't know about Paul E. He was doing his own thing. But when I had the first one, the 3-way match, Tracy Smothers, Dirty White Boy, Brian Lee in Knoxville, it wasn't ever said that it was no disqualification, and it wasn't. They just didn't do anything to get disqualified in front of the referee. And it was elimination by pinfall, or I guess submission, but nobody submitted anyway, so it didn't matter. But we didn't stack and no disqualification, because that would have been a hat on a hat. Why, when you're having the first match of a kind and it's already a gimmick, then fucking make it no disqualification? Maybe you'll want to do it and come back with it again. No holds barred is another way of saying no disqualification, but even that didn't used to mean no time limit. Falls count anywhere was in the really in the modern era because they started fighting on the floor, which again has gotten so stupid and repetitious. And if you're in a big building, a lot of people get pissed because they can't see. Falls count anywhere meant that you could count the fall anywhere because the guys previously had a match the week or the month before and fought out of the ring and into the fucking crowd, and holy shit, we don't ever see anything like that. So this time, I can pin you in the concession stand if I want to. And you'd see that one time a fucking year, if that. But they were all different based on, now I've done the soliloquy, Brian. They were all different based on what had happened between those two guys and how to make a rematch attractive by either nullifying what the heel used to an advantage or amplifying the babyface strengths, his strongest match, or his, the manager is hung in a cage. The people, if I interfered in a match, then they would come back with a regular match, not no DQ, not no time limit, but they'd put me in a cage and hang me over the ring. And yes, that was a little excessive. Being in a cage would have probably kept me out, but all the people wanted to pay $10 to see me scared shitless hanging over the ring. But that doesn't mean it has to be a goddamn Falls Count Anywhere street fight in the fucking ring now. We have made this match special based on previous fucking actions. I yield the floor.
Well, I think you made a good point. And unfortunately, I don't think anything's going to change. Who's going to make the changes? Who's going to be the promoter who says that this isn't the smart way to do it? And who's going to be the person strong enough to tell the modern wrestler they're not going to do what they want to do? Because it seems like a lot of people want to do things, but not a lot of people understand the psychology or thought behind why things were introduced or why they were done or why they should be done and what's the best way to get the maximum impact out of it.
I understand that all the boys, well, just give us a fucking, the chaos in Canada or football field fuckery or whatever they're calling the match, anarchy in the arena, whatever. Just let us do everything we can ever think of and all we want to do. Well, that's fucking great for that. Now you've done everything you can think of and all you want to do. Instead of focusing on, as I said, making rules for matches individual based on previous interactions between these competitors so that it makes sense to the people. You identify the one or two turning points in their previous interactions, and some way or another, the babyface gets to nullify that. Or perhaps the heel still has an advantage that the babyface has to overcome, but it makes fucking sense based on their track record and their relationship with each other and their feud or their rivalry or whatever the kids call it. And then you can build that until you get to an ultimate blow off where you haven't let them do just every goddamn thing, every match, every week. And this is another reason why Tony's insane booking philosophy involves not really having a lot of rematches. Well, no wonder, because they can't fucking calm these guys down to not do everything every time. So what do you come back with? Instead of identifying one or two things that you could hang your hat on, as Jim Ross would say, that son of a bitch, okay, the super kick is barred. Can you imagine that dreaded stipulation? But again, that's booking. That's when you book, that's when every match is different on the card and everybody's journey to that match is different and every finish of the match is different, and every goddamn, in some cases, stipulation of the match is different. Some stipulations of matches need to be that there are none. It's this guy versus that guy. But that's the art of booking. It's not just, oh, let's have a bunch of crazy fucking matches. And any variation from a normal one-on-one or tag team match is now no disqualification by the goddamn, just by the announcement of it. It doesn't make sense. I apologize for my goddamn dissertation.
You should be sorry. Look at the state of the industry. Look at what your generation did.
It wasn't my generation.
Oof.
It was some woof. What do you? That was the Sundays for Dogs commercial. Where was your bark then?
There was no W. It was oof. Oof. More than woof.
Thought you were trying to howl at the moon here. Well, Brian, speaking of anything goes, before we talk about something else going away, that is, I saw this. I just saw this. It's on the Twitter machine, but it is possibly the first mention of Shane McMahon as a member of the community in the newspaper up there in Connecticut. And Alan Cheapshot has tweeted this out from 1989. Would you like to hear about Shane's appearance in a newspaper?
Let's hear about this.
3 Greenwich men, Greenwich, Connecticut, were arrested early Saturday morning in connection with vandalism to more than a dozen mailboxes on local residential streets. Charged with 16 separate counts of third-degree criminal mischief were Shane B. McMahon of Hedgerow Lane, William T. Green of Havemeyer Place, and Jacques R. Lienhart of Bruce Park Avenue.
They just moved into town.
All 3 were released on promises to appear in Superior Court in Stamford on February 21st. They were accused of damaging a total of 16 mailboxes on Old Stonebridge Road. I think that may have been where Vince lived at the time. Parsonage Road, Clapboard Ridge, and Dingletown roads.
Well, it's
over in Dingletown.
Where you just said Shane McMahon. You said where he lives, didn't you?
Of Hedgerow Lane. That was different then. Well, I don't know, but that sticks out in my head. Anyway, it was all either late Friday evening or early Saturday morning. But listen to this. A pickup truck driven by McMahon was stopped at about 1:38 a.m. Saturday as it was driving away from Old Stonebridge Road 5 minutes after a resident there reported vandalism to his mailbox. Inside the truck, police found a case of beer, the lot number of which matched those on empty beer cans found near some of the damaged mailboxes. McMahon was additionally charged with possession of alcohol in a motor vehicle by a minor, police said. But listen to this. I didn't give this before. You know how old they all 3 were? 19. 19. It wasn't like 14. And they drink beer and bust up mailboxes. They were 19 fucking years old. And I like Shane, and he's a wonderful person. But Jesus Christ, talk about being a disrespectful rich kid.
Yeah, he didn't have any bills to pay. Is that a federal offense if you do something to someone's mailbox?
And no, I think you have to, actually, that may be a loophole because it's supposedly at least not done. One of those things, well, that's just not done. For anybody but an authorized United States Postal Service employee to put something in your mailbox. Because that's why you're not supposed to get newspapers. You'd have a separate paper box back in the days when people actually read the newspaper. That's a paper box because they'd put the newspaper in there because they weren't allowed to use the mailbox. So is it a federal crime to put something in your mailbox, but only third-degree criminal mischief on a local basis to beat the shit out of it with a baseball bat? Should we get Stephen P. New on here to clear this up?
When the officer asked Shane McMahon, he said, I haven't driven this thing in so long. I didn't know how fast it goes. I was trying to get to my granddaughter's birthday in Westport.
Yes, I impregnated her mother when I was 8. So anyway, but that's, the McMahons have been making news in Connecticut for nigh on to 50 years now.
Where was the Mean Street Posse?
Yeah, where was, I guess he had to quit hanging around with old Jacques. Like
Willie Green and Jacques.
And I think he was hanging around the wrong crowd. Then he found Rodney and Pete Gas. And all right. Enough frivolity and tomfoolery. We got to talk some serious business, Brian. TNA is now taking the mantle of the most unpopular fucking thing since crotch rot to all of the various online fans around the world that actually know that this is happening, because they pulled their talent from working with some other people's talent at some of the independent events taking place not only on WrestleMania weekend, but I think one or two of them maybe is even some couple weeks after that or whatever. But basically, matches were arranged on a handful of shows between TNA talent, which I understand that they let their guys that they have under contract work for other promoters, and they should, since they don't run any fucking shows to speak of. But the TNA guys were going to be competing against guys who technically were under the AEW umbrella. And TNA being they're not a wholly owned subsidiary. How about a bottom sub in the BDSM relationship with the WWE, to where that they don't want the intermingling of the races and the species there between WWE talent and AEW talent. So I don't know how this happened. And it's not that I'm surprised that WWE probably told TNA to pull these people out of this shit. I'm not surprised at that. I'm surprised at how could they not have known that these matches have been announced and promoted and talked about in the various news sites. Well, here's TNA's so-and-so going to wrestle NXT's so-and-so, or blah, blah, blah. How did it get this far to where it's less than 10 days away and they're canceling shit?
Well, again, everything was approved. Everything was approved until it wasn't, by Carlos Silva or TNA management.
No, that's where they made their first fucking mistake. Carlos Silva does not fucking run TNA anymore when it comes to matters like this. If he didn't realize that if he's letting his talent work with AEW guys with this relationship he has with the WWE, then that he shouldn't have gone to Stamford via phone or however they communicate these days, that, hey, before I let this guy take this shot over here against this guy, do you give a shit? And they say yay or nay, then he's a fucking moron. So the question is Carlos Silva a moron, or did they lie to him and go back on his word in Stamford because somebody higher up than who said yes said no? So who did approve this?
And again, we're not talking about, to the best of my knowledge, televised events. Maybe best case scenario is a live stream, but maybe not even that. These are purely independent events. One of them may be more high profile than the others because it's near WrestleMania. But it doesn't seem to make much sense, especially after everything was announced. And when fans are mad at TNA, it's one thing. When you're seeing wrestlers openly come out and rip this, that's a whole nother thing.
Well, yes, no, because the guys are losing out on a payoff and whatever the fuck, and they wanted to. MJF wanted to have this match with Nick Nemeth that's being canceled for New Jersey or New York or one of the wherever the fuck they were going to go in May. And again, who's the guys in WrestleMania weekend? The main event for somebody's show.
It was a memorial show, apparently, for someone.
Well, who were the guys?
The guys were Ricochet versus Leon Slater.
Okay, so Ricochet is with AEW. Leon Slater is with NXT. Is that not correct?
No, he's with TNA.
Or with that's right, with TNA.
He's appeared on NXT. He's appeared on NXT.
They had been together and whatever. They were friends. They wanted to have this match. They'd been together in NXT, whatever the backstory is. The talent wanted to have the matches. And I'm not even blaming Ricochet. You know, they wanted to work with their friends, whatever the case. But if Carlos Silva did not realize that he should make sure, especially Ricochet, who's actively on, fucking Tony's television, and MJF, who is Tony's world champion, is it okay if I have my guys, on these out dates, work with these guys? Then Carlos Silva is the one to blame. Whether that he would not think to clear that is insane. If they were working with goddamn Fred Smith and Joe Jones, big shit. But because of it's wrestling and he's working with the WWE now, if that didn't ever cross his mind, I don't know why the fuck it didn't cross anybody else's. And how could it go this far to get advertised this long until the WWE caught wind of it? That's my questions I'm asking.
Apparently, Moose was also pulled from a Maple Leaf Pro show during WrestleMania week, and that's, I believe, Scott D'Amore. You can understand why there may be some problems with TNA and Scott D'Amore, but who knows? But this is kind of going back to when you were with Ring of Honor years ago. And all of a sudden, guys who were with Ring of Honor, who went to TNA, couldn't work for Ring of Honor anymore, and neither could anyone else. If you're an indie promoter right now, would you book anyone from TNA?
Well, this has always been the problem. In that, in the modern way of the wrestling industry, the way that things turned into for so long, that there was no territory. It wasn't this guy's territory, that guy's territory. It's the whole world all at the same time, everything, because everybody's either on the internet amongst the hardcore fans or streaming or reporting the news or whatever. So even when you would have talent under contract and would be using them for the majority of the dates that they worked and paying them the majority of their income, unless you were big enough, you couldn't dominate their schedule. So the Ring of Honor guys had to take out dates. And they would go somewhere and do some goofy shit that people would hear about, whether wrestling a girl or the whole PWG thing where a bunch of marks in the business wanted to get together and have matches with their friends in front of people. And you couldn't control the way they were used, whether heel or babyface, consistent with your television. And how they were presented, consistent with your television on these other shows. So that's why TNA got big for their britches and didn't want the guys working for Ring of Honor, because in all honesty, they were being used better in Ring of Honor and having better matches in Ring of Honor. And at the time, the audiences were far apart because of TNA's television, but goddamn, Ring of Honor outdrew them at the fucking houses. But the point being, if you're going to run a wrestling promotion, you always want as much control, a serious national wrestling promotion with television, and you have talent under contract, you always want as much control over them as possible. And when you say, okay, guys, you can work out dates, We have right of first refusal on your dates, but you need to monitor to make sure that they're not being presented in the way that would be detrimental to your program, because you do have, it's like the old days of the booking office. The booking office in Nashville would send somebody to Anniston, Alabama, because they were on the big time Nashville TV. But it wouldn't be Jackie Fargo going to Anniston to do a job for fucking Cooter in a second match. You want some control. That's just business. But again, with the way that things are, for Carlos Silva or anybody else in TNA not to have known that if they're going to be working with the WWE, they need to clear this specific instance. They don't care if, TNA's old Dick fucking Tucker goes to work with some guy in Anniston. The WWE doesn't care about that, but if the guy in Anniston is a regular on Tony Khan's TV and people are going to stream it or have video, or just because, fuck him, we're closing the Strait of Stamford to the boats carrying talent that might benefit Tony Khan, that's not a surprise. So why didn't they work this out beforehand instead of getting the guys' hopes up, selling tickets to the fans that want to see it, and causing this goddamn degree of embarrassment at this late date? Or, as I said, there's one of two ways to look at this. If the WWE cleared it and then went back on it, then damn them all to hell, they're assholes. And if nobody thought to clear it with them, then apparently Carlos Silva is the puckered sphincter.
I have a few quotes here. I see the Wrestling News reported that Tony Khan, in the media call for Dynasty, expressed frustration over the new TNA edict, indicating that it had caught him by surprise, and he fully supported cooperation among wrestling promotions. Scott Brigante, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the owner of the California-based independent promotion West Coast Pro, took to social media, and here's what he wrote. Working with talent on an independent level, after clearing everything and doing business, only to have said talent pulled after the fact, high or low profile, gives me zero reason to work with anyone from said company making said arrangements. When you have an understanding...
I like the specificity this guy shows in his statements.
When you have an understanding and it gets cleared, all parties involved have weighed risks. To get it cleared by multiple channels and by multiple companies, to then have said company go back on it, is garbage. And a memorial show at that. So that's the quote there from Scott Brigante, and this has just been emailed to us. Is this from today? It's from today. Pat Buck, I guess, did an interview.
I know Pat Buck from the past. He spent some time at OVW right after I had left, but he's a nice young man.
He works for AEW as an agent, I believe, but he also owns Create Pro, which was the wrestling school that trained MJF and Chris Statlander and others, and also, I believe, was promoting the MJF Nick Nemeth match on Long Island. I don't usually speak on things like this, but this one's too ridiculous to ignore. TNA, specifically Carlos Silva, forced a change to the main event of our Create Pro show 3 weeks out after it was already approved and promoted. Not sure who that helps. And he goes on from there. He says that maybe Carlos Silva could learn something from Tony Khan about how to protect your brand while helping the overall scene. It's times like this I'm glad to work for someone who actually champions the entire sport, not tries to shrink it.
Well, let's face it. Also, Tony Khan doesn't say no to anybody about anything. And, oh, you really want to do it? It's your best friend? Go ahead. Work for my competitor.
Yeah, and by the way, Tony Khan's guys were going over in all these matches, if we're going to be honest about it, too. So, I mean, there is that little issue, but
Yeah, and that's the thing is you've got two opposite sides of the two extremes, two polar opposites, in that Tony believes that they should all the wrestling promotions should have the kumbaya, like that big event in Japan where all the promotions got together, and the WWE, aka TKO, is like, fuck everybody, we're going to control this whole goddamn world. So there's got to be some friction in the middle between those two standpoints.
that was a hell of a show. You got to see Kenta Kobashi as well as Ryuma go versus the Nazi aliens, I believe is what it was. You got everything from Japan on that one show. But what do you think of, I guess one last thing about this. What do you think of Carlos Silva specifically being called out?
Well, Carlos, I feel like doing the Razor Ramon shaky fingers thing. Ooh, like anybody's scared of Carlos Silva, or the boys are scared of Carlos Silva. Or to be honest, if Carlos Silva fired anybody from TNA, would that be the biggest job they'd ever fucking lost? No, it has to be that TNA approved this, and Carlos Silva, for better or worse for him at this point, runs TNA. So if he approved it without checking with the WWE, it's his fault. If he checked with the WWE and they said yes, and now for whatever reason they've waited this long to say no, then it's their fault. But it's one of those two fucking things. So we're going to have to wait to find out which one that is. But I can't imagine that he would have thought that that was going to fly enough to let it get this far without contacting them.
I think someone needs to steal that baseball hat off his head. That'll teach him a lesson.
But he's another one of these new guys. Maybe the guys talked him into it.
Swipe the cap. That's what I say.
Yeah, but maybe the guys talked him into it, like, oh yeah, the boys want to do this, it'll be a great thing. And he's new to wrestling and didn't understand what the fuck he was actually doing. I don't know, but it's crazy to me. But his goose may be cooked, Brian. He may be just dyed, fried, and laid to the side. He may be simmered over an open flame by the wrestling fans for these decisions.
Put it on pay-per-view.
And I know who can sponsor it. Our friends at Hexclad. I've been waiting for this, folks, for the past couple of weeks. We have new friends at hexclad.com, Hexclad. I think they put a hex. I think they put a spell on these pans, Brian. This is the greatest cookware that has ever existed on the planet Earth. When I heard about this instantly, when you told me, I told Stacy, she went, oh my God, Hexclad. And you, Suzanne, the same thing. Oh my God, Hexclad. And I've never actually seen them in person, but now that we have gotten the samples, this stuff, it combines stainless steel cookware is great. It's heavy duty. It'll last forever. But goddamn, you got to take a fucking wire brush and a SOS pad, all this stuff to clean it. And the non-stick stuff scratches and peels and wears out, and the heat just doesn't work. But this is like both. It's an amazing engineered Hexclad hexagonal design. And as soon as I got it, Brian, I took the frying pan, and you can use lower heat. I got a sear, because if there's one thing I know how to make, it's a cheeseburger. I got a sear on my cheeseburger on both sides in 7 minutes over medium heat, with no splatter, because you don't have to turn it up to high, so you're not blowing grease all over the goddamn kitchen in your face. I have to usually wash my clothes after I've fried things, because I do get vigorous. It's like magic. Well, don't laugh at me. Like, I'm trying to keep from being greasy.
Listen, these are nice. Suzanne's more of the cooking type than I am, but I like looking at them and just touching them. They're so unique, and she went crazy over them. You want to talk about something to make your wife happy? Hexclad, and apparently makes delicious food because she's been cooking on them all week. We got the wok, We got the saucepan. We got another flying saucer thing. And everything is fantastic. Everyone's happy here.
Oh, and the eggs don't stick. They're slicker than whale shit in an ice flow. And again, you get the convenience of nonstick with the performance of stainless steel. You get the great sear, you get heat control, easy cleanup. Again, after I finish the burgers, and let's face it, if you're going to fry something, 90% of the time, it's going to be a burger. I've got a pickle
fact.
jar.
That's not a provable fact.
Oh, come on. Are you an American man? If you're an American man, if you put something in a frying pan, it's going to be a fucking cheeseburger.
90%.
The cow must die, Brian. But I've got a pickle. I got a pickle jar. I got a jar here. I got an empty pickle jar that I use to collect my grease. And normally it's you got to scrape all the shit out of the pan and the bits and the scrubby parts and everything and into this jar. You just turn the Hexclad pan up and it just pours right into the jar and boom, easy cleanup. Gordon Ramsay uses Hexclad and doesn't even cuss about it. And they come with a lifetime warranty, so it is the last set of pots and pans that you're ever going to have to buy. All different shapes and sizes they got in the 12-piece set in your ultimate all-in-one cookware upgrade. Throw all that other shit out. It's leaching, Brian, is what it's doing. All that defective, non-stick, cheap shit you've got from the cheap pans you've got is breaking up in your scrambled eggs and your goddamn stir fry. And you're eating Teflon. No wonder a generation of people is going to be born, if they're not already, with some type of Teflon disfigurement. So that's what's the matter with a lot of people these days.
Let's get back to these wonderful, wonderful Hexclads.
The pots and pans.
Pots and pans and
that's well, and if I'll tell you what, if ifs and buts were fruits and nuts, we'd all have a picnic. But if pots and pans were what I wanted, I would go to Hexclad, HEXCLAD.com/JCE, and you get that fucking 12-piece set with the all-in-one cookware upgrade, 3 versatile pans, 2 saucepans, and a family-size stock pot. So it's big enough to actually cook one member of the family inside it. And each of them has its own lid.
And that's not what that means. And I'm not going to go any further, but you all know what I mean. Back to you.
Yes, well, and you know what I mean. Each pan has its own lid. You're going to get 10% off with our link, hexclad.com/JCE. 10% off the finest and the last set of pots and pans that you're ever going to have to buy. Unless you get divorced and your wife takes them, then the first thing you're going to replace is these goddamn Hexclad pads so you can make your burgers and just pour the grease out like it's slicker than cum on a gold tooth.
Yes, to some of that.
See,
and to all the positive nature of that. And again, great pots and pans from Hexclad. They look good. They really look nice. They're really, really nice. It will make your wife
tell the truth. You are rubbing up against them at night, aren't you? It's fascinating. The honeycomb type texture, and you can put them against your face, and they're so soft and yet so hard.
You know, sometimes we reveal a lot about ourselves when we ask other people questions, I guess is what I can say there. But once again, they look nice. Makes your better half happy. If you enjoy cooking, you're going to enjoy cooking with these fine Hexclad products. Jim?
Yes, they look nice. You can go out in public with them. They won't embarrass you. But inside the house, boy, they're hot. Hexclad.com/JCE.
That's right. Let them know you heard about it here.
Or, well, they could have heard about it over here also. Doesn't have to be over there. It could be over here. All righty then. You know what we got to do now, don't you, Brian? I've said I'm clean and sober from the AEW Dynamite programming for 2 weeks now. I haven't had to watch it. It's easier to digest when you just read the recap on the interwebs. So, for the sake of the people who are disappointed that I haven't been talking about them, I thought we would at least just read a brief recap of what they did on Wednesday, just to make sure that everybody, they're not lost now. They can completely understand all of the AEW storylines just clear as day if we keep them up to date, right?
I watched the show, so I know kind of what's going on, yeah.
Oh, so you're completely clear and up to date on everything that's happening.
Not clear and up to date, because even if I watched it the entire time and it wasn't on mute, I still wouldn't understand some of the things, but I see who shows up, and then if I press mute in time, sometimes I hear some of their names, and yeah, I mean, it's not a priority anymore. I have multiple monitors here in the office, but I have it on. It would be stupid for me not to have it on at this point.
The only thing that you didn't say was you sneak out at night in the dark across the street and peep through the neighbor's window to watch their TV to see it.
You figured it out. Toni is my mistress.
So apparently, this Will Ospreay has got friends now, because they opened the show with him jumping Dick the Boozer in the garage, and the Boar Horseman jumped Ospreay, and then a car pulled up, and Will Ospreay's friends all jumped out and got a big fight with the Boar Horseman. And Ospreay's friends were, I wrote these names down, Brian, just to let me know if I get them right. Callum Newman, Francesco Akira, Hanar, and the young lady we've seen a time or two before, his significant other, Alex Mountbatten Windsor. We've actually seen her on this program, so she would be recognizable. Who the bloody hell are these other three people? Not only have we ever seen them before, but has their names ever been mentioned, not only on this program, but in public before? And I actually tried to search for a picture of Callum Newman. And good God, if it's the guy that popped up, what the fuck in the world?
He is the current IWGP World Champion, the youngest in history, 23 years old.
Of course he is. He looks like a delinquent Louis Spicolli with a bad physique.
Well, again, he's 23. There's always time to work on that. And this was the first time I got to see Callum Newman.
Have you ever heard of these fucking people? Have we been doing this podcast for 10 years? Have anybody ever written in and said, hey, have you seen what Francesco Akira is doing lately?
No, never. I've seen their names in print, but I've never gone out of my way to see their stuff. The one guy with the face tattoos was disturbing looking, but I don't know.
The one I see, I read the recap, so I didn't get to see that he had tattoos on his face.
It was a heck of a way to introduce a bunch of people who have never been on this show or never mentioned on this show. All of a sudden, they are there.
The car pulls up, and here they are.
Sort of looked like a car.
They fought into the arena, and then the baby faces ran the heels off, and they made that for the main event. That's what I understand. This was probably took a while for him to do that, though. Longer than it took me to say it, I would imagine, correct?
I think so. Yes.
And did you hear what, again, I saw this on Twitter. Meltzer said, well, I don't understand, why people that these nobodies from nowhere just popped up. It used to be a big deal, Dave said, when stars from other territories came into Georgia to do the TBS show. Or what? They're not Terry Funk. The key is stars from other territories, people that the fucking fans had seen before and know and miss or had read about in the magazines and always wanted to see, or in some way recognized main event talent. Not Callum Newman, Francesco Akira, and Hanar. I still don't know what the other two look like. I was so scared by the picture of Callum Newman that I just gave up. But so that's the main event. I want to, again, we talked about this several days ago, Kyle is hurt. And apparently it's bad enough just from a goddamn goofy double suplex spot in a match with two midgets. He's hurt bad enough he's had to vacate the the TNT title.
I read that it was a torn meniscus.
Well, a torn meniscus is no, it's a torn cartilage. I mean, that's a wide description. Guys have torn cartilage and worked a day later, and guys have torn cartilage and had to have it scoped, and it's so. But the point is, just from that one little goofy thing, he's vacated the belt because it sounds like he's going to be out at least a month or more. Elsewise, who would even notice? So they're going to decide a new champion in a casino gauntlet match at the pay-per-view. They announced this 4 days before the pay-per-view. One would think that many of the top contenders might already be booked on the pay-per-view. So they're basically announcing whoever's not booked or wasn't booked previously is now going to fight for this fucking title. I'm just reading what's reported on the internet, Brian. Am I misrepresenting this in some way? Was there some nuance I'm missing?
No, there's none. Kyle got hurt. Title has to be vacated. The winner of a match where someone will get hurt will win the title.
Now, maybe you can lend some kind of, having seen this, the next thing was a little bit confusing to read a description of. He had a match with Andrade and Mark Davis and Take a Shit from the Don Fallis family against Darby Allin and Bandito and Jungle Jackoff. And the heels won, and then the heels continued to beat up the baby faces until the Buckaroos, Matty and Nikki, came out and saved the day with the super kicks. But after they beat up the heels came back and beat them up until two of the heels, Take a Shit and Okada, started fighting with each other. And while the rest of the heels were pulling those two heels apart, more baby faces, the Rascals, came out and dove on everybody. What did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything. Obviously, Okada and Takeshita have their problems. Was this the part of the show where that happened, where they started going at it with each other?
Yes, that's why they suddenly they just began fighting.
Don Callis had just done a long promo in the back right before this, talking about how they had no problem. And then they immediately had a problem right here in this. And obviously that sets up the big tag match for the pay-per-view.
Where they're going to team with each other, not fight each other.
Team with each other against the Bucks, I think, right?
Yes, because they can't have Kyle against, and was it going to be Kyle and Boring or Kyle and Take a Shit?
I think Takeshita, I think.
Okay, well, Kyle can't do it now because he's hurt. So Chris Jericho is a babyface again now, firmly. We can establish that. He was in Edmonton. They're still in Canada. He hadn't got out of Canada yet. And you know the old saying, you're now entering Edmonton, set your clocks back 20 years. So he's the babyface, and he did the rah-rah, and he wants to come back and be the best Chris Jericho he can be. And then Ricochet came out and pissed him off, and so now Jericho has put Ricochet on the list, and they're wrestling at the pay-per-view. The long-awaited confrontation between Chris Jericho and Ricochet. Did they just kind of make this up in 1 week so that Jericho to have a match?
Well, Jericho usually decides who he wants to work with, so obviously he knew who he wanted to work with, and Tony probably knew what Jericho wanted, and this is the way they set it up, because they only had him come back last week because he wanted to in his hometown. He got a better reaction this week than he did in his hometown. I thought this was actually pretty good. In terms of Chris Jericho promo, he's playing babyface. So far, a week in, Did a good job playing babyface to this crowd. The list thing was interesting because Jericho's always been about evolving and sometimes to his detriment, but he always has to change and, again, goes back to his ideas and everything. The list was something he did 10 years ago in WWE. It's just interesting that all of a sudden he would return to something that did work for him. Got him over as a pretty big mid-card act in WWE. I don't mean that, in a bad way. It's just that's where he was, him and Kevin Owens at that point in WWE. It got over bigger than it should have, and he got to ride that wave for quite a while. I don't know. It's just interesting that they would go back to something that WWE, I don't even know if WWE can claim it as intellectual property, but just the idea that it's something he did that used to work, and it worked a lot better than everything he's done since.
Well, if that's the thing is he's good now. He's got to go back to the greatest hits and anything that will get people. If he's going to be a babyface, he's going to leave plenty of reminders of happier times when, oh, wasn't that great that Chris Jericho did this, that, the other thing? And that was a few years ago. So, yeah, he's going to go back to that. And I agree that he should do that. The question is, him and Ricochet, besides the fact that Ricochet is a little fellow that he can look big and throw around, and I guess because he's a Weasley heel, Jericho's thinking, oh, I could get some heat by beating this guy. But at the same time, all of the fans of that ilk think that the wrestling has to be all the diving and the flipping and the round-offs and the rolling about. And I hope Jericho's not going to try to do that shit with him because he'll shit the bed as soon as he's come back. So, but no, Jericho needs to give us reminders of happier times. It is the golden years of his career as much as possible at this point. So I wasn't surprised about that at all. And just when he gets out of, if Winnipeg, which I've said before is the Kansas City of Canada, then Edmonton is kind of like the Baton Rouge of Canada. Edmonton and Calgary, that may be maybe the Carolinas of Canada, the last bastion of old-time wrestling fans who still like, the old days and remember them fondly. Whereas Winnipeg is the Kansas City of Canada because it's just a nothing happening fucking place. But when he comes back to this country, and especially some of the bigger American markets that have had plenty of AEW and they're persnickety people, then we'll find out how persnickety they're going to be about Jericho. You know who else was persnickety, Brian? What were you going to say?
There's more Dynamite. There was more Dynamite.
That's why I'm persnickety. Tommaso Ciampa beat Mascara Dorito to get to be the first person to go into the Casino Gauntlet match for the TNT title that Kyle vacated when his partner fell on him.
On Collision.
So hopefully Ciampa will win the thing. And we'll just act like Bobby Ewing in the shower or whatever, and all this other shit didn't happen. Start over with Ciampa. Invest in somebody some time and energy that's worth something instead of these fucking goofy children. Okay, did you see Edge and Cage and their promo about FTR?
I did.
Did Cage really say that he fucked both of FTR's mothers?
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem with Christian Cage's whole character and has been for a long time. All of a sudden it became to get pops, laughter and pops from the audience. He said that he went to FTR's mother's houses and had sex with them.
So he makes fun of people's dead fathers and then fucks their mothers.
Who have to be in their 70s, I presume, right? It says a little more about him than he realized.
Well, now, hold on now. Wait a minute, they're 70s. Hold on now.
Oh, maybe not, I guess.
Dax and Kay, well, maybe, well, mid-60s. just on an average. Where'd Mama Wayne go? Where did Mama Wayne with the large upper frontal protuberances, the massive mammaries, the incredible flotation devices? Where did Mama Wayne and her progeny, that snoop-nosed, fucking slow-eyed goddamn Nick Wayne, go?
I could be wrong, but I think Ring of Honor.
That's where all the major mammaries go to die.
But again, we're talking here about this feud with FTR versus Cope and Cage. The feud that had Beth Phoenix get beat up, her husband left, Christian Cage, who had just turned babyface because he's helping his longtime friend, even though he's still a douchebag heel, he left too. They were all gone. FTR did a whole number of other things. The whole time, never really established the heat on them. Certainly never established it on Stokely. No one reacts to him getting up.
No, a bunch of other people just beat him up since Cage and Edge left.
And then they came back and immediately beat him up their first night in. And now these guys are so mad that Christian Cage is doing comedy. That it's impossible for a legitimate adult heel to get mad about this guy saying this stupid shit.
But no, you see, now you've just mischaracterized the whole thing, because they clearly explained that when Edge left, Cage left in support of Edge because Edge had to go home and be with Beth until she was out of the woods. Remember they said that? She just wasn't out of the woods for 6 fucking months. Apparently she's with Mercedes Monet.
They live in Asheville. They'll never be out of the woods.
Yeah, they're surrounded by woods. She wandered in and we can't find her. Helicopters, goddamn National Guard. It's been months. The point is, if she was on the goddamn verge of medical calamity for 6 fucking months, and then, as you said, they come back, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, after Cage exclaimed that he fucked Dash and Cash's, Dash and Cash, Dash and Dine, there ought to be Dash and Dine. After Cage fucked Dash and Dine's mothers, then FTR and Rocky and Trent, just the interchangeable heel thugs that are like a fucking Batman villains with their gimmick names written across their t-shirts. They're just, here's Thug and Pal. They came out and beat both of them up, and they Pillmanized Cage's arm in the chair, and then Stokely stole his watch.
Well, there was a thing last week where Cope and Cage were mad, and they were on the lookout for FTR, and they went to their locker room because they have their own locker room apparently. And instead of FTR, Trent and Rocky were in there hanging out. So then they got beat up by Cope and Cage. So this week was revenge for that.
Well, you can't be hanging out, and you can't roller skate in a buffalo herd either. I've heard that before. And then they had the chaos in Canada. See, this goes much better when I don't watch this show. I could just keep people apprised on what happened. Chaos in Canada, Dick the Boozer and the Boar Horseman against Will Ospreay and the Unknowns, who knocked Question Mark and the Mysterians off the charts in 1966. And they apparently had, and Brian, you could testify to this, a full-on garbage wrestling match that started in the crowd with no DQ and no tags and ladders and stairs and tables, and the babyfaces won. So at least we don't have to carry this feud or angle on anymore because the babyfaces got their resolution. Your thoughts?
Now, this was on one of the monitors, but it was also on mute, and Hulu was added LA Law, so I've been kind of marathoning LA Law for the first time in years. I love that show. It's really a great show. So I was watching more LA Law than that, but it went on for a long time. It went on for a really long time. And I don't know how anyone could care about the Death Riders. You know, I understand that there's a fan base that likes Moxley. There's a delusional fan base that actually think he's really good in the ring. You could write down Randy Savage style exactly what Jon Moxley's match will be, and it will be exactly that to the minute, to the second. Here's where he'll start trading forearms in the middle of the ring 20 minutes into the match for no reason. It's always there. So yeah, that's.
But now wait, the new talent here. You didn't pay close attention to Callum fucking, what's his name? Goddamn, I've lost my
I would
notes
like
now.
to. I've heard good things about him.
He looks like you crossed Gabe Kidd and Josh Alexander again and then left him floating in the river for 3 days. The picture that I saw.
Oh, I don't know. The guy I saw had hair. You're describing a bald man.
Hold on, type it. I got a picture of him. I went to YouTube and all I got was his entrance theme and something from Japan where he was talking to somebody.
Here he is with a beard and a mustache and lots of hair. Who did you see?
Thought he was bald. He just looked bald.
I'm looking at these images. There's no bald images anywhere.
Wait a minute. Hold on here. I've got to.
Who did you see now? Now I need to know that.
Let me get to my keyboard here. Callum Newman.
IWGP World Champion.
Callum Newman.
Not Alan Newman. That's a friend of mine.
No, Callum Newman. Well, hold on. Callum Newman. See, I've got
Jeff Rowland.
Is there a picture of him? Wikipedia don't have Callum Newman. Oh, he does have hair. Yeah, he still looks like he's fucking just there.
Well, he looks very young. He looks very, very young. And I heard good things, so I wanted to see him wrestle. And this is not a match to judge him on, so I didn't pay too close of attention. Right? The first time you see someone you've heard about, you want to see them. You don't want to see them have a 20-minute brawl around the building. With the Moxley
He looks
bunch.
like his picture ought to be on the side of a milk carton.
All right. Well, they don't do that anymore, I don't believe.
Well, that's because people don't drink enough milk. People drank more milk, then we wouldn't have these problems.
Well, they don't really have to go to cartons anymore, usually.
There wouldn't be children missing all over the place with more milk drinkers. Anyway, I ain't drinking none of Callum's milk, but there's one more thing. For some reason, they let Kenny talk again, and then MJF came out and talked to him, and then apparently Kenny knocked MJF out. Are you excited about that big main event match coming up, Brian?
I was more excited before they started doing their promos. And Kenny talks me out of wanting to see him wrestle, not into it. The Canadian fucking snagglepuss. It just doesn't work for me at all. And MJF in a vacuum is great. And he always brings himself down to everyone else's level, or it's just what he likes. And the feuds, it's been a while since the last MJF feud that you're like, man, this whole feud from beginning to end is kind of right there. But it is what it is, and I'm sure it'll be a great match. I'm sure it'll be Kenny's best match. Did you said that was it. Did you hear about the Tekla interview?
Oh, I somehow skipped over, I think it was one of the backstage bullshit that even when I was reading the recap, I just skipped over that falderall because that happens so often. But I understand there potentially may have been a problem.
Who knows? Because let me say this, and I'll play you the audio. It's only a minute. It was just in the middle of nowhere, Lexi Nair with Tekla. It's not a bad promo, and I wouldn't have paid any attention to it, but once the word started going around, and I'm not saying this is true because I don't know what the original source is. I heard people say it was Dave Meltzer. Nothing in the Observer that I saw about this. But people were saying Tekla was drunk, and that AEW is mad that she showed up drunk, which would make you say, well, why would they put the promo on TV? And then other people were saying, well, they didn't know she was drunk until the end. But it's a minute. It's a 1 minute promo.
Well, and even if they did it live, if they did it on tape, they'd have plenty of time to judge it either way. But if they did it live, somebody had to interact with her in the moments before she would have been doing that, and in which case they might have smelled something was off. So let's listen to it and see it might be good.
I'll say this, my opinion before we start playing, you'll form your own hearing it. I think it ends pretty good, and I think her intensity's pretty good. Whatever story she was trying to tell with Lexi Nair, I'm not sure if that was thought out well, but let's play this audio right here from AEW Dynamite on April 8th. Tekla is sick of Jamie Hayter before Dynasty. Let's go to this.
Tekla, this Sunday at Dynasty, you will be defending your AEW Women's World Championship against former world champion Jamie
If I
Hayter.
have to hear how Jamie Hayter used to be champion one more time, I swear to God, Lexi, I'll take you out for a nice seafood dinner, the finest wining and dining, and then I'll bring you to the strip club. I'll drag you up on the stage and I'll break every single one of your fingers. Jamie! The kingdom has changed since you ruled it. The only reason you touched this is because I wasn't here. But now that I'm here, you're never gonna touch this again. When I arrived in AEW, the first woman I took out was you. Because I knew you'd be the easiest. But you kept on coming back. Not because you're the toughest, but because you are the dumbest bitch alive. So now I'm done playing games. I am done having a good time. Because now, at Dynasty, you're going to be the dumbest bitch dead.
Well, there it is. What do you think of the promo?
I think she needs to take a couple of shots of Jack Daniels every week before TV.
Not bad.
I think, and not only because she's from where she's from, Germany, right?
Austria.
Or somewhere in Austria. English is her second language, I assume. She's got a slight accent, but you can understand everything she's saying, and she had intensity, and she fucking that to me, like I said, if she's drunk there, liquor that girl up every week. I want to hear more of that.
And I like her accent. I think the accent goes well with like a crazy female promo like that. The part about taking Lexi to the strip club after a seafood dinner to break her fingers, I'm not exactly sure what that had to do with anything else.
Well, and you know what? Think about this. That's something that's missing from the business is the whether the heels or the baby faces, it would come out and say something just completely outrageous and crazy. And it, you would think, well, that's nuts. But from them, you didn't know what to think, right? Maybe that's the way they are. That was, it took an interesting turn, but this girl sounds creepy. So she's creepy. I don't, it doesn't all have to make sense if it sounds like that it's not for any kind of gimmick in wrestling. You can't sound like you're acting silly or acting tough or acting funny or act whatever. You have to sound like you are silly or you are tough or you are funny or you are weird. As long as it doesn't come off like you're just making shit up and trying to be somebody from the planet Zambodia, anything can work. I like that.
I think that 1 minute, 16-second promo was the highlight of Dynamite this past week.
There you go. Congratulations, Thekla. You're the girl that wins the prize for the only 1 minute of Dynamite that was worth a shit.
And again, this is the problem with rumors going around. The first comment here, who's here after finding out she was drunk while doing this? And then everyone's saying that. That drunk breath must have been hot considering the interviewer's face. Tekla drunk is a better promo than 95% of the wrestlers today. So everyone seems to like it, but I don't know if they wouldn't have put it on the air if she showed up drunk and they were mad at her over it, would they?
You wouldn't have, if it was pre-taped, you wouldn't have put it on the air if you thought she was drunk. And if it was live, people would have been interacting with her beforehand. I would think that something was up. So I don't know. Who knows? Who knows with all of these people? I don't want to be for anybody or against anybody because you never know with any of these people.
No, you don't. And that was AEW Dynamite.
It certainly was. And the pay-per-view is coming up as we sit here imminently within just 36 hours or whatever. And
we watching it?
MJF
and Kenny Omega. MJF and Kenny Omega. That's a big match.
Oh, that's going to tickle my taint.
Kenny may. Kenny may do that for you. Just ask.
Well, I think I'd rather have another tickler. Maybe a French tickler. Maybe old Jacques, Shane McMahon's friend. Nevertheless, it's your show, The Drive-Thru, that we would normally talk about this on. Right. So I will acquiesce to you in watching the major matches to that further the way that the wrestling business is progressing. But don't expect me to go into detail on.
Well, no, I think because you
the majority of the 14 matches I'm sure we're going to see.
I think because you have not been watching Dynamite, you should watch some of the stuff you would normally skip just so you can critique it in a different way.
I refer back to my mental health.
Jim, we get letters. We get letters all the time. People who say that your Dynamite reviews help them, make them happy, help them get on the bus or get on the bike, jump in the car, or perhaps head over to the train.
Jump in front of the bus, jump in front of the car.
No.
Run the bike off a cliff.
You stop it now. Come on.
We'll meet somewhere in the middle of that, in betwixt shit and Shinola.
All right. Don't forget there's a pre-show. Don't forget there's a pre-show.
Well, that may be some of the shit, if not a little of the Shinola. So we'll see what happens. But I'll do some of that for you, my friend. But now, I guess we should do other things. But Brian, I'll tell you what. The thing is, if whether people are drinking, or whether they're sober, or whether they're old or young or tall or short or whatever kind of people, there comes a time you're going to have to get away from wrestling. You're going to, whether you're a big fan of it or whether you're in the business of it, whatever, you're going to have to get away from this shit because it's going to drive everybody crazy. And once everybody cracks up, they're going to need to find a new business, a new endeavor, a new line of work, a new thing to occupy their time and to throw their resources into, and that's where Shopify comes in. You see what I did there? I segued right into a brand new business, avoiding that delinquent on the bicycle. Folks, Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world, 10% of all the e-commerce in the United States and growing. As a matter of fact, this is old copy. I understand they're up to 12.7% right now because they are the partner that you need. A built-in business partner, not a tag team partner that's going to stab you in the back and turn on you on pay-per-view, but a business partner that's going to be there till the end. He's going to have his arm around you. He's going to take you under his learning tree because Mr. Shopify, Mr. Shopify is just like that fancy Dan fellow on the Monopoly game with the top hat and the spectacle. And he's got money falling out of his pockets. And you want to slide up next to somebody that's got money falling out of their pockets, and that's Mr. Shopify. He's going to tell you all the things that you need to know about how to sell your product or make your dream become a reality. Mr. Shopify is your commerce expert, managing inventory, international shipping, email and social media campaigns, a marketing team behind you, and Mr. Shopify will also roll up his sleeves and help you create that dream website of yours and has award-winning 24/7 customer support. You know who that is, Brian? Mrs. Shopify. She sits there and answers the phone every time somebody has a problem while Mr. Shopify is out fixing everybody's lives and making their dreams come true. Have you seen Mrs. Shopify?
I have not seen any of this, and also I think it's important to note that the Shopify family of characters are not official spokespeople or official mascots of Shopify.
Well, no, they've signed it over to the board of directors now, and they've got. I think The Rock is on the Shopify board also. He's on all of them. But Mr. and Mrs. Shopify still, they'll pitch in and they'll help you. And your dreams, folks, will become a reality. You'll have your own business, your own empire, your own bank account, your own place to live, your own dog or cat or ocelot or wallaby, and a happy life. And you'll be able to sit in the window and fire a slingshot at that kid on that bicycle. Go right now to your computer, your phone, your laptop, wherever it is you get on the internet, looking through your neighbor's window and punching buttons with his code when he's not around. And go to shopify.com/JCE. You're going to get a $1 a month trial period where for the meager, paltry sum of $1 for a month's period of time, Shopify is going to show you what they can do for you. And Brian, has there ever been a dollar better spent in the business world?
That's a hard to answer question, especially with the changing value of the dollar over the last 150 years, specifically in the business world. But
well, $24 for Manhattan probably was, if you divided that by 24 and then prorated for the interest. Yeah, okay. But $1 a month, folks.
It's great. It's a great deal. And of course, we trust Shopify, and you can too.
Shopify.com/JCE. Yeah, so's your old man. All right, anyway, I guess now we should take a brief break so that we can come back and inform the people on what in the world happened on SmackDown.
All right, it was a bumpy ride, but we have gone through Earth's atmosphere and we've returned. Well, I guess it's time travel. It's not planetary travel, but we are.
Well, I don't know where you were taking a trip to there with that.
Hey, that sounded good.
That sounded like the batteries were running low in the boombox of a fucking Chinese massage parlor soundtrack.
That's kind of my sound. I don't know who you are to judge it, but we are here in the future for the benefit of the future, and of course the.
I guess I rubbed you the wrong way with that, huh?
Just like in the massage parlor. That's right.
Yeah, all right. So anyway, we're in the future now, but we're talking about what's just happened in the past. On SmackDown, I swear to God, I think that the most vindicated human being now is young Brian Jesse James Armstrong, otherwise known as the Road Double Dog D Giddy, whatever the fuck he used to say. As soon as everybody was like, oh, we hate Road Dogg. We hate Road Dogg. He's a shit. As soon as he fucking quits, says, I'm going home to spend time with the kids. This show's gone in the fucking toilet. Have you noticed that? Is there any correlation? Did he know what was coming?
Well, again, like we said when he left, he never wrote his show like no one does when they work there. They wrote the show that their boss wanted. And he apparently left on his own accord. He heard something or knew something about the direction things were going, and he just said, you know what? I don't need this money. I'm going to go home. And the show has become bizarre in a lot of different ways.
Well, they were in San Diego, and that's bizarre enough on its own. No, the people did not seem deliriously happy to be there like they were just a scant few months ago, right? Is it just that town, or is it's early in the day there? They weren't warmed up yet? What?
San Diego's a good town. That audience seemed like they were in North Korea. They just sat there. They sat there like they had to be there. They didn't leave, but they also didn't move, breathe, or react at times.
And there was some element of they booed McAfee, all right, but it wasn't like they were enjoying booing him. They were like, no, like the fucking guy on the plane with Stan Lane's balls in his face. No. I guess should I tell the story now or just leave it there? I've told the story before. I don't want to get sidetracked. We'll tell it another time.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, they recapped last week with McAfee and Orton and Cody and that whole thing. They reminded us of it. And then right out in the back of the building, Aldous tells Cody, don't put your hands on McAfee. That order comes from above me. So again, they're acknowledging this and trying to work it in, as they say. And should we mention that I don't know that we did on the last show when we talked about it, that when Cody had come back out and cut that fired up promo, that wasn't originally on the schedule on the format last week. It was an unscheduled promo, they're saying now, and he got a chance to go out and vent a bit. Was it a call on the fly? Did he go back there and say, hey, I just spent goddamn 10 minutes laying on my fucking back in the middle of the ring with you guys beating on me while you talked me to fucking death? Did he demand it, or did somebody else say, oh, we got to save this somehow?
I would almost think it's more of a Triple H thing. They shoehorned McAfee into my creative, and then he went out there, got on the mic, and said everything now sucks. It should go back to the way it was 30 years ago, and the reason we can't sell tickets is all of this. That's what he said. So I think they said, what the fuck? Like, he didn't just turn heel. He decided to turn heel on, Gorilla. He turned heel on them. And,
and now there's controversy over who it was that told him he could say that, because there was allegedly a writer attributed to the segment, although that thing was ghost written by everybody. But they did. Apparently, somebody told McAfee he could say that shit, but nobody in creative knew he was going to say that shit. And so far, we have not officially heard who told him to say that shit. And here's the thing. I love, God damn it. This is what I've been saying all along, that the fans want is people going into business for themselves and saying shit that they're not supposed to say and turmoil like that. But they've taken it and done the absolute crummiest direction of it with the absolute worst deliverer of it that you could possibly imagine. So is this be careful what we wish for, or it's just they don't even know how to fucking tell the truth right? That was profound, wasn't it?
It was very profound. I think we're going to find out about a lot of this on WWE Unreal at some point in the future, but not that it's the same thing, but remember, Travis Scott slapped the shit out of Cody Rhodes because The Rock told him, just go out there and if you're going to do it, make sure you really do it. He didn't tell anyone else he said that. That was The Rock independently giving him advice. So,
well, but I don't know if they'll make it to Unreal or not at this rate. But anyway, so Aldous is saying, hey, the order comes from above at the top of this program here, that nobody knows who above is, except we know who above is, but they won't say who above is. And they're trying
heel
to
authority figures again. That's where we're at.
Well,
that's where we're at again.
See, I don't even know if it's that. I'm wondering if Ari and Mark and Nick and these guys,
Dwayne,
but if he was going to show up, I think he's staying far away from this. I think he realizes he don't need this. But if
I don't think he wants wrestling fans seeing him right now smaller than he was a year ago.
Well, I don't think he wants to be seen in the middle of this right now. But point being, if these executives have been swept up in, we'll make it all part of the story and it'll be intrigue, and they're getting their Hollywood mixed up with their wrestling. And I'm not saying they're going to be on camera or anything like that, but they may think that the fans want all of this bullshit intrigue with all of these people who have more money than they'll ever see on television in their lives, in getting it, and the celebrities. And again, we're starting to use celebrities in quotation marks because goddamn, now they're just part-time fucking wrestlers.
Yeah, Jelly Roll's there every week.
He was here. As soon as Aldous tells Cody, you can't put your hands on Pat McAfee, that comes from above. Then Jelly Roll comes in and he's even more pissed than fucking Cody is. And I'm going to do something about this, goddammit. It's just Cody, just follow me. We're going to goddamn no. Aldous said, no, you got to stay out of it too. And then Jelly Roll is the one, since he's the wise old sage of fucking Tennessee, he's giving Cody a pep talk, giving him the advice. I know what the God damn it.
I hate that he was a musician and not a wrestler first, because he does a good promo. I gotta give him that. He's really committed to it, but then you're like, why is the musician showing up every week on Friday? It's a Friday. He doesn't have a gig. Keeps showing up on Fridays, and then he keeps giving all the wrestlers these fucking pep talks like he's a youth pastor.
And well, it's not even joke about things like that, because
I'm not saying it like in a dirty way or anything. It's just, it's like,
you never know about these things. Who knows what we're going to be finding out? Because and here's the thing.
Now you're saying it in a dirty way. Okay.
You said fucking Jelly Roll, like you wish he'd been a wrestler because he cut such a good promo. I'm thinking, look what he used to look like. And I'm going to pop you and 3 other people in the world. He's from Tennessee. Look at him now, what he used to look like, and tell me that he couldn't be the illegitimate son of Ronnie P. Gossett.
I don't know. That doesn't disprove anything I said. It may be it may have been impossible on a sexual. I don't know what woman.
Ronnie spent a lot of time in Tennessee. I'm just saying that I think Jelly Roll's last real name. Well, I don't know if that was Ronnie P. Gossett's real name. Again, folks, just Google a picture of Ronnie P. Gossett in the USWA in 1989.
No. I would say don't do that. Go to YouTube and search for Ronnie P. Gossett in the USWA 89, 90, 91.
There you go.
1990 with all the monsters. It's ridiculous.
There you go. Jelly Roll's father.
Feuding with Burt Prentice. What a feud that was.
Oh, good Lord. And made Burt look svelte. All right. So back to this fucking fiasco. That's the way they've set this show up, is that Cody's there and McAfee's gonna be there and Jelly Roll's there, but they're not allowed to touch. They're getting into AEW territory. Also, right, with as well, nobody's allowed to interfere at specific times. Well, if you can stop it then, you can stop at any time. Now they've just said, well, if the fucking boss of the company just said nobody's allowed to fight, they could never fucking fight. So then we're going to skip over a couple of things and just hit the interesting parts of this program. Now, I don't even know about interesting being a proper word, but you can't see Rhea Ripley now without seeing Io Sky. Rhea does the in-ring interview, and it's about Io. You attacked my Io. Io. And then Io came out with constipation face, and they set up Io and Jade in the main event. But Christ, I thought when they broke up the team and put Rhea back in the title picture, we didn't have to see this little conjoined twin hanging off of her fucking hip.
Nope. It's not going away.
And then Bayley wrestled Alexa. And then there was a lot of stuff backstage. And then we get to Royce Keys. Brian, who could have thought? The guy's got a great backstory. He grew up in poverty, but he had the family that took care of him, but he's been shot, or his brother was shot, or the story that he tried to tell once 4 years ago on AEW, and then they fucking switched him heel. I don't know, whatever the fuck. Here it is. Here was the video. He's from down the road in East Palo Alto. And they had the family pictures and the story, and basically, they have told his true backstory that was true when he was Powerhouse Hobbs, but in 2 minutes, they conveyed more of it here than they did in 5 years in AEW. Or am I just imagining this?
No, there was some production behind this. There was some time, obviously, they put in putting this together. I thought it was really well done, and we have not seen him at all. Royal Rumble, and then they promoted him being on Stephanie's podcast because that's obviously a priority. And now this, I think the video was really strong. Doing it in his hometown, or as close to it as you could be, great idea. I don't know if I would have had the match go as long and be as competitive, because I don't think that served anyone, but other than that, this was a promising debut.
Well, and the match, and we don't want anybody to think it was 20 minutes long or whatever, is him and Berto, who's partners with the other fucking guy. I forget who, aren't
Garza.
they have, yes. And they're, yeah. He was just there, but at the same time, Royce did the power stuff. Then the heel distracted him. The other heel posted him. They got a little heat. He made his comeback. He nailed the other heel. He hit the spine buster. Boom, 1, 2, 3. It was okay. There was nothing wrong with it. And I don't even know, honestly, if it was the fact, or as you said, that it was long. It wasn't too competitive. It just seemed longer than it was, and it seemed more competitive than it was, because I think he's got to loosen up. Hobbs. I'll get used to keys later on. He needs to show more aggression in his body language and in his emotion. And remember when Jacob Fatu first came in, he was he was getting ready to be a beast unchained. Right now they've cleaned him up and buried him. More on that later. But since if Hobbs had been more and had more of that old fucking, attitude era type of fire to him, then even if you get posted and you're down, you've still got to try to be fighting your way back up. And when you're on the offense, there needs to be more oomph and more urgency in your body language. I think that's what he was missing here, that made it seem more competitive or a little bit longer than it actually was. Does that make sense?
It does. And again, they also brought him in as a babyface, and video aside, in the past, from what we've seen of him, he is stronger as a heel, so maybe this is also an adjustment.
Well, I would think he's been hopefully trying to adjust in the PC somewhere. But I'm not talking about being an animalistic heel type. I'm just talking about being a badass. They want to see more, or at least if he's going to start out, fucking big and strong, but kind of calm, then they need to have a point where he snaps. There needs to be a big transition, because something needs to happen. What gets under his skin when somebody's gouged his eyes the third time? Well, goddamn, now you've gone too far, whatever. And then he snaps, because he needs to just, when he's making that comeback and he's hitting all that shit, he needs to be more oomph. Anyhow, speaking of more oomph, Pat McAfee pulled up in the back, Brian. Do you have a cold drink? Do you have a pillow for your chair? This is going to be a while. Are you all comfortable?
Yeah, I have a cold drink, and there's no pillow for my chair, but yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're, I want everybody to settle in, because we're going to be here for a while, because McAfee got more television time than Nixon did during the fucking Watergate hearings. So McAfee pulls up, and Aldous tells him, because he asked, yes, I've spread the word, nobody can touch you. And then Jelly Roll rolls up. And Jelly's hot and asking McAfee, did you tell Randy to RKO me? You shouldn't even be here. You're not a part of our business. Or is it that was McAfee said? Was McAfee said that? I can't remember. I just jotted down, not a part of our business, question mark. But Jelly Roll jacks Pat McAfee up against the wall, and Aldous is separating them from this argument they're having. And I'm thinking, this is just not good.
It's non-wrestlers doing wrestling angles.
Yes. And it looks like it. It looks like the wrestling school local cable access TVs you see, or even OVW in current day. Guys, non-wrestling people that have watched wrestling doing wrestling angles. But it was 9 o'clock, so the McAfee's the ratings juggernaut, Brian. So that's why they sent him out to the. And did you hear that apparently this was even changed? Originally, this was the information that's floating around the internet. That this was originally scheduled for later on in the show, but they shuffled the fucking format to get this on earlier and put Io Sky and Jane Cargill in the main event. So they really count on this 9 o'clock. I wish we got quarter hours still. But now McAfee goes to the ring, and we talked about the crowd not particularly being a demonstrative crowd in relation to some that have, some they've had here recently. But the people were booing him. But what I said earlier, I think they weren't having fun booing him, were they? Did it sound to you? No. It was like, no, please, no.
It was a we don't want this boo, as opposed to a boo. It was more boo. Like they didn't want this. And it got worse and worse the longer it went.
A sort of a groan booing.
I mean, or it's next level great, because I never thought to have the heels put down everyone and then offer a discount. The fuck?
Yeah, well, like,
you're all a bunch of idiots. But if you need a great deal, I got a deal for you.
I got to get there first, because the people who didn't see this have to have the whole scope of the meaning of the context of this thing. He comes to the ring. He calls San Jose a shithole, which was bleeped, but he flipped the crowd the double fingers. And then, of course, he knew it. He knows enough, he knew that when he mentioned CM Punk's, they'd be like, you people are the kind of people that chant for CM Punk, that they would chant CM Punk, CM Punk. But then he cuts a promo on Punk, talking about the pipe bomb that he did, talking about lowering the ticket prices and a blah, blah. Well, hey, what was he wearing? He was wearing all of his merchandise. He's got 280 things on sale on the website. So where does all that money go? Does it go to the needy WrestleMania families, or does it go to Punk's I'm Sorry Saudi Arabia fund? So now he's literally burying the top fucking babyface.
Well, first of all, you said it a lot more coherently than he did, because I was trying to follow him.
No, it took him about 3 or 4 minutes to get that out.
Yeah, and it's fair game to criticize Punk for that Saudi Arabia thing, but if you were going to do it, you have to be able to do it. Like, it was a struggle for him, and then it didn't get the big reaction. Because a lot of people don't even know what he's talking about.
Well, and I'm sorry I was more succinct. I was trying to save the people's fucking feelings out there listening to us, unlike him. But the point is, he was... When you're burying, not even Punk burying a bit about Saudi Arabia, it's the money he's making. Oh yeah, he can come out and say Punk got to a babyface response for saying they ought to lower the ticket prices, and I mentioned before, that was a great babyface line. But then the heel counters by reminding the people that they're buying Punk's merchandise and he gets money from that. That's not the right light to paint the babyface in.
And he came out and said, I'm on the side of the owners, as opposed to the players. This whole thing was, if you actually try to follow it and make sense of it, in terms of what's right, it contradicts itself like almost every other sentence. But
well, the next thing, it talks about Punk when he gets in front, however he phrased it, Punk for the bosses rolls over like a little bitch. But I'm a man of action. If Punk says the ticket prices are too high, I swear to God, he said this. I'll try to jot this down in shorthand. If it wasn't for Randy Orton, why would anybody want to spend money on WrestleMania? And I wrote, he knows how to be a heel, but not the right things to say. And it's not even his fault. McAfee's still new at this, not the athletic part, but the fucking main event level vocal performance part. Remember what Jerry Jarrett told me the first time I was ever on TV when I was giving an award to Jackie Fargo? I said, should I give him the introductions like the biggest box office attraction? No. We don't want to remind the fans how much they paid to see Jackie Fargo. We want to remind them how much they loved him and how great a wrestler he was. The heel brags about how much the people paid to see. So he basically said that he called their Ram Trucks, which I guess is sponsoring something around here, and he got a 25% discount off the Saturday night WrestleMania show now until the end of Raw, so the whole weekend for that, but then told people, Sunday, don't spend any money. Don't spend any money to see Sunday. Just get 25% off Saturday to see Randy Orton win the title. Are they letting him just blurt these things out? Or is again, Ari Emanuel, who is his agent and chief president of his fan club, is he so, say shit like that? Because Ari Emanuel, they don't understand the exact intricacies of wrestling logic. And I don't know who is not the one that doesn't understand this. But somebody doesn't understand this. So before Cody comes out, tell me what you think so far.
I was waiting to see what this was going to be because they saw the reaction it got from everyone last week. And I was everything he said, I kept getting more and more blown away. I'm like, oh my God, when he buried the idea of paying for Sunday, which on its face is ridiculous because if you're going to Vegas for Saturday, the whole idea is you're going to do both shows.
Oh yeah.
But again, he's burying the baby faces, he's burying the fans, and then he's like, let me give you this great deal from our sponsor. It buries the sponsor. They didn't think of that. It buries the sponsor. And then it also reeks of desperation. We're a week away from WrestleMania. 25% off for a ticket. It'll be 50% off in the middle of the week, I bet.
They should have got Don West to come out and do a home shopping fucking thing in the box in the corner of the whole show. And now it's 82% off.
It's until the end of Raw. Who's going to show up on Raw and offer a different discount? I mean it. It either has to be Punk, right? It has to be a babyface. Punk, maybe Cody, but probably Punk. But someone has to be a babyface and go, this discount lasts the rest of the week. We're not going to let Pat McAfee take this discount from you.
But here's the point that I was going to make more
He doesn't know what to say, though. He doesn't know. You're right. He doesn't know what to say.
And that's the point I was going to make. And when I went off on a tangent, I'll make it more succinctly. After he cussed the people and he's obnoxious and he had been droning on for a while at this point, by the time that he got to announcing the discount, I was thinking to myself, the average person has to be going, fuck your discount. Take your fucking discount and shove it up your ass. I wouldn't see you for free, motherfucker.
They booed him in the building when he announced this discount for this event in another city. When the heel announced this deal for other people somewhere else, they booed him.
So anyway, then that's when Cody's music played. Yes, folks, we're still going. And he got the big entrance, and the people didn't go nuts. Like it's a part of a pattern. I'm not saying he's the only one, but it wasn't the whoa that we were getting just until recent times. But he did get a pop with when he said, Pat, I don't think you belong here. And boy, that kind of is what everybody's thinking. And he did the only promo that he really could do in this. You are a play wrestler doing catchphrases from 30 years ago. We need to get you a replica belt and let you do your favorites entrance and then go back to whoever stuck you in here and say, thank you, Daddy. Because Pat McAfee, the modern day George Goulas. Except who would have thought that Ari Emanuel would be Nick? So then Cody says he quoted Paul Bosch because now they're trying to do the inside stuff too. And he said they're not marks, they're customers. But Cody did, because you could tell, because he's probably trying to have a healthy outlet for the pissed offness he must have now. He could have fired up promo, and basically when you grow up and everything you have is because of the customers, they're my family, point at the fans, and defended our business somewhat from this interloper, and then said for the first time ever, the entire wrestling fandom agrees they don't want to see you at WrestleMania, Pat. They want you to go home. And the people like, go home, Pat, go home, Pat. And I thought, oh, that was a great way to end. That wasn't the end. Did you think it was the end, Brian? I thought it was the end.
I thought that was the go home one, yeah.
It wasn't the end. Because then Pat said, I am home. I was born to be here. And then he points out that Cody is the fakest dude on earth. His fake tan and his teeth and his hair and a $10,000 suit and a cosplay chick. Anything he can do to drive a wedge in between Cody and the family of fans that he has just roused up with his promo, McAfee is just completely shredding. And he's got a message for Cody and his inbred family. If Orton doesn't leave WrestleMania as champion, you'll never see me in this business again. And the fans start chanting, go home, Pat, go home, Pat. And I'm thinking, wow, that was a pretty strong thing to end on. They didn't end. It wasn't over yet. Was it over, Brian?
That wasn't over, and also the stipulation all but promised that Pat McAfee on this show isn't over either.
Well, exactly. And they have pretty much, one would think with that guaranteed, unless it's some bullshit that they've lied about, guaranteed that Orton's going to win the belt, which we said about 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago before this nightmare occurred. The people want to see that, and the place's roof's going to blow off. I don't know whether now that they want to fucking see that or not. But nevertheless, it's not over. More than one way. Because Cody told Pat that he was high. He said, I guess you're stoned. Take off your glasses. What? I don't. And they need to get Gunther out there and put you to sleep. And I'm thinking, well, how the fuck is Gunther fit? Because I'm thinking, here comes Gunther to put him to sleep. I'm like, how are they going to make sense out of that?
And the people pop. People are like, yeah, we want
and
Gunther
the people
now.
Pop, yeah, we want Gunther to come out and put him to sleep. But then Cody turned to leave the ring, and I'm like, well, wait, what the fuck? And I still don't know I don't know why that was the line that he chose to turn and leave on. But Pat, as Cody is walking out, is still on the microphone. And he's getting bleeped some more. I don't know what the fuck he's saying. Are you going to suck Triple H's ass? That didn't get bleeped. And Cody takes his coat off and he's coming back to the ring now. And right as he gets back to the ring and he's going to do something about this tirade that McAfee has given, Orton's on the screen. I'm like, oh, Christ on a cracker. It goes on. Orton is saying, hey, look down here. And the camera pans down and there's Jelly Roll writhing in pain on the ground, looking like a deflated Macy's parade balloon. Come get your boy. Or, hey, I'll bring him to you. So he grabs Jelly Roll by the leg. He starts dragging him out. I got to admire Jelly Roll's commitment to his fucking art here. Because you don't have to get drugged across the stage when you're a singer. But thankfully, for Orton's benefit, he's lost that 250 pounds. Either Orton would have sprained his back or thrown his shoulder out again, or Jelly Roll's leg would have popped out like one of those Power Town figures. So, anyway, Orton drags Jelly out into the arena, and Cody goes down to the aisle to help Jelly. And, of course, Orton takes off. Well, then McAfee distracts Cody so that Orton can come back out and glom him from behind. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's still going on. Orton beats up Cody. They get in the ring, and Pat throws some cheap shots. And then Jelly. Oh, Jelly. Jelly, how I love you, my dear old Jelly. Jelly gets up, and Zombie walks to the ring. His clothes are all ripped. He's a warrior, folks. And as he gets up on the apron, as McAfee comes to punch him, because, Jelly Roll obviously has been working out with The Undertaker. Jelly Roll just reaches out and snatches Pat. Now you've got this goddamn, I don't care how much weight he's lost. Nobody can term this, again, fat fucking inflated skin bag as an athlete. And McAfee at least was a goddamn NFL star punter, as they say. Maybe it's the UK definition of a punter. Jelly Roll reaches out and snatches McAfee by the neck like it's the Undertaker snatching some druid. And McAfee just he's frozen in pain. And then fucking Orton has to nail Jelly to save McAfee. And then Cody gets up and fights back. But this sounds more exciting when I'm saying it than it was on screen. It wasn't like happening with urgency, and the people weren't screaming and jumping up and waving shit in the air. It was just going on. And then McAfee stopped Cody, and Orton DDT'd Cody. And then McAfee saw the belt and handed the belt to Orton, and Orton waited for Cody to stand up, and then he hit Cody over the head with the belt. And then they stood there. I believe it was 23 minutes from start to finish. I lost a little bit of track there, but it seemed so much longer.
Yeah, counterproductive, bad, not getting the reactions I think that they hope for. For fans at home, this is a sad reality of what they're building towards. The big tag match with Cody and Jelly versus Randy and Pat McAfee.
And let's not let anybody think that you're kidding. You're not ribbing here. This is what allegedly they're planning for the May pay-per-view.
coincidentally enough, a lot of the fans are planning to do other things for the for the May pay-per-view. I mean, this whole thing is a real sad exposure of TKO and what they think of their wrestling property. I'm not going to lie, hearing about all this over the last week and hearing that Ari Emanuel from the top is getting involved because whether it's they care about WrestleMania ticket sales, this hasn't done anything to help ticket sales. In case no one's noticed, like nothing they've done in the last 2 weeks has caused a large amount of people to go, you know what? Maybe we should go to Vegas. But obviously their priorities are different than the wrestling company. If Pat McAfee's being told to go out there and say whatever he wants, who's telling him that? And if Ari Emanuel's making these decisions, how much is he still talking to Vince? Because now it's kind of been exposed in these text messages that came out at least a few years ago. That was the biggest fear they had, Paul Levesque and Nick Khan. Well, more Paul Levesque. Vince is still talking to Mark Shapiro. Vince is still talking to Ari Emanuel. Their attitude is, what's wrong with him giving notes? What's wrong with him sitting in every now and then? You have to wonder how much of their thoughts on things come from. You have to wonder.
Not on this. No.
Go shit on the creative. Go shit on everything happening in the company.
No. Hold on there, cowboy. I'm thinking you're saying that Vince is just purposely telling him stupid shit to do now. Then that that may be one thing.
I'm saying that he may be one of the voices Ari Emanuel's listening to. That's above.
I'm saying that there's no way that he wanted Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll. I'm saying that Ari Emanuel, who represents fucking Pat McAfee, who is apparently thinks he's the next Sylvester Stallone action hero in Hollywood. Is that the description that's going around now? Is that what you've heard?
That's what I've heard. I believe even Dave Meltzer heard that because he put it in The Observer. It's ridiculous on its face. Ari Emanuel is one of the most successful, if not the most successful agents in the history of show business. But Pat McAfee is... he's not Rocky Balboa. He's the drunk uncle at the house party on that episode of Freaks and Geeks.
Whatever the case, the fact that all of the sudden, as they say, here comes McAfee and he's at everything, and Emmanuel is his agent, and Jelly Roll, you don't think because for whatever reason, this deformed cretin sells this amount of music, they want him under control where they can somehow plumb the depths of his worth to their corporate bottom line. And so they're getting them, and he's a wrestling fan and he's living his dreams. They're getting them all in this goddamn thing. And they're going to figure out a way to make $20 billion with a 4-way all-male gangbang video with Jelly Roll, Pat McAfee, Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton, with a special guest appearance from fucking Nick Aldis.
Nick Aldis, leave him alone. What did he do?
He's got to bring in all the fucking dildos.
So in terms of who Ari Emanuel's listening to, what about Dwayne Johnson?
I don't think Ari Emanuel's listening to anybody. I think he is the reason why, because he likes Pat McAfee, and he has put Pat McAfee in this because now they've got the bug. They got the booking bug. They've got the Hollywood guys have finally gone Hollywood on wrestling, and they think they can do this too. And then when they heard that there was controversy, you talk about the higher ups, and yes, this will be great. We'll get all kinds of talk on ESPN.
I'll tell you something. Every single time Pat McAfee talks WWE or has a WWE guest or performs as a heel on his show on ESPN, I think he loses fans. I don't think it's the other way.
He's not a heel. He's not a good heel gimmick. He is a good rah-rah cheerleader kind of.
He's a cheerleader. He's a cheerleader.
Ex-jock fan, color commentator,
softball questions, doesn't ask anything difficult. he's a soft landing spot for WWE if they want to put something out there. They know they can go to Pat McAfee and he'll play ball.
But I mean, just as a wrestling gimmick, it's good. It's okay if he's the energetic. I love the WWE and hey, yeet yeet, all that. He's personable in that way. As a heel gimmick, he's fucking rotten. Fucking rotten, says somebody he knows might say. You know what we need, Brian?
What do we need?
We need something that can give us a kind of a McAfee-free experience when we're watching these television programs. I wonder if our friends at Surfshark can do that. They can give the Canadian fans the commercial-free WWE experience on Canadian Netflix. They can give all the fans the commercial-free experience on the Canadian Netflix. If you do it right, can they give us a McAfee-free experience on the Surfshark service?
I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but this is a good time of year to remind people about Surfshark and their service because WrestleMania is coming up, and of course it's a pain in the neck in the States to go to the ESPN. Go to ESPN on the Disney app and pay $30
I thought it was the Disney on the ESPN. It's ESPN on the Disney. Well, now that's why they've got R-Truth in the little Lucy psychiatrist box from Peanuts, telling people how to sign up for this thing that we don't even remember what the name of it is.
That's another great
You don't
idea.
need to worry about that.
Yeah, let's take our craziest character and have him explain to people how to order the pay-per-view. Great idea, but like you said, you don't need to worry about it for once. You can have all the benefits of a WWE fan in Canada.
But without being in Canada, because you got to go to surfshark.com and then they'll put you anywhere your little heart desires. You want to live on a South Seas island with a tropical breeze blowing in your face and the sand between your toes and the topless lady giving you the Mai Tai. Well, then all you got to do is go to surfshark.com/JCE and you're going to sign up and they're going to send you to the South Seas, metaphorically speaking, and you're going to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN for doing that. Because not only are you going to be able to get access to all these various streaming services that for some reason or another block you out. You know what I'm talking about, Brian. You know what I'm talking about. Just because of your geographical location, sometimes you get screwed, blued, and tattooed, dicked by the dangle dong of destiny. Just because of where you live, I say no. I say fie upon you, sir. Surfshark will fix you up with a brand new abode somewhere that's not discriminated against, like Cambodia or British Columbia. So
Canada.
go to Surfshark.
Canada.
Well, yes, various places. That's where British Columbia is. You didn't know that?
Well, you started with Cambodia. That's what made me want to stress that we're talking about
Cambodia, they don't discambodiate against anybody over there. They're a very free-living society.
I don't know how they do streaming over there, but let's get back to the point here.
It's called Cambodian streaming service.
Once again, Netflix in Canada. Canada, we know for sure.
Yes. Well, we know for sure, but the thing is, for people all over the world, you can figure this shit out as you go. Secure your privacy, too. They're not going to let the people in your walls through those cables to harm you or your family while you're asleep or get inside your computer and look at all your naughty pictures. So surfshark.com/JCE, where if you go and sign up with the code JCE, you will get 4 extra months over and above what you're signing up for just for using that code. They'll not only keep you personal and private, but they will allow you to basically bypass the WWE and the streaming services' draconian laws concerning where you live. And of course, then you can access things in a much easier fashion.
And draconian pricing. Don't forget about that. Get around that.
Well, it goes completely without saying that it will be gratis, which means you pay nothing for these fine services that other people are suckered into paying for.
Well, once again, Surfshark, it's WrestleMania season. You need a good option to see WrestleMania from the convenience of your home. with a convenient price on a convenient service that you pick like Netflix in Canada. Jim, let's let the listeners know this great deal from Surfshark.
Surfshark.com/JCE and use that code JCE at checkout. You're going to get 4 extra months on top of what you sign up for just because we love you.
Surfshark.
Well, you know who I wish they could put in a different place, a different location at a different time and start over again is Jacob Fatu. Are you kind of heartbroken over what has happened here with Jacob Fatu and the overall presentation?
They found a way to make him not interesting.
Not scary.
Not anything. He's another guy on the card, and that wasn't how he debuted, and that's certainly not how he should have been presented. And there's still time, I guess. But
they've shown him the cleaned up version. Here's the thing. I know he was out with the dental whatever, but they could have covered. Here's what they did, and then let's talk about what they could have been doing. Again, he's got a match with another one of the fucking Tongans. That, I think, is what doomed him, was being stuck in neutral with Solo in that group for so long. So long. But he beats whatever the Tongan was. But obviously, the match coming up is him and Drew, unsanctioned. They're mad. They're dangerous. They're at each other's throats, and they had a video with Drew in jail, not like he was in jail mocking Jacob and talking about blah, blah, blah. And they talked about Jacob's prison background. He's the nicest, cleanest, most ineffectual ex-con now I've ever seen. They did everything. They did everything, but they did it in the wrong way and or with the wrong people. So after Jacob wins this match, McIntyre comes out and jumps him and just beats the piss out of Jacob Fatu. And he's supposed to handcuff him. Brian, have you ever seen a cop with the handcuffs with a chain 6 feet long in the middle?
No, I have no idea where you get handcuffs like that. No.
You don't get them like that because there ain't none. They made phony fucking handcuffs for this spot they were apparently trying to do that didn't work anyway. But I've said before, there are handcuffs with, you can get 3 links of chain in the middle, and those are usually the working ones. You can get handcuffs that don't have any chain of the square connection, and those are goddamn almost impossible to use in a working situation. And when they have a chain like, say, 2 or 3 feet long in the middle of them, they're usually leg shackles where people can walk in them. They go around your ankles, but that's why that chain is that long, right? But with these, they were regular size handcuffs, but with a chain 6 feet long in the middle. So to mock him, obviously, for being an ex-con or prisoner or whatever, but he puts the goddamn handcuffs on both of Fatu's arms and tries to hang that long chain over the top of the ring post while Fatu's on the floor so he can hang him there and have his way. And as soon as he puts any weight on it, one of the fucking handcuffs comes off one wrist. So then he gets on him and he beats him up some more. He puts the handcuff on again. And he's tried to do the same goddamn deal and it came off again. And then he's still supposed to apparently get more heat or do something because he tries to get him down on the floor. And now he's trying to, like, he's handcuffing his fucking hands behind him. Well, there's a 6-foot chain. But Fatu's trying to act like that his hands are handcuffed behind him. But he's not fully committing to acting like that because he kind of knows, but he's still trying to keep his arms behind him while he's not fucking. And then Drew whips him with a belt. And all of the agents are trying to stop it, everything. It was long and it was horrible. And Fatu, whether he was He might have just got dinged. He was bleeding a touch from the head, not like bleeding bad or anything, but it just immobilized and beaten up, and other people having to come and help him. I think it probably should have been, and again, this is something I go back to with Vince in the old days before he lost his mind. And before that, everything just fell apart. A guy like that, he wouldn't have needed anybody to come help him for a long time after you saw his debut. Hey, tell me what you thought of this, and then let me tell you what I thought maybe they should have not done or whatever.
I mean, you described it pretty well. It was a train wreck of a segment. The agents can never stop or do anything. But they're all out there. The handcuff, who was the was it handcuffs and Becky and Lyra, whatever her name is?
Yes,
Lyric?
yes.
That was the last time the handcuff thing didn't work. This one was such a bad idea to begin with, because even if it worked, you're hanging him over the thing with the handcuffs. It was poorly thought out. It broke down. They kept going back to it. I don't think any of the fans cared about this a few weeks ago. I think it's gotten worse. This is, again, like Hobbs, close to Fatu's hometown. And I don't think the build to this match has done anything for either one of these guys, actually.
Once that...
Drew's a non-entity right now. It doesn't feel like this feud matters.
And that's it was guys that two of the guys that we were most interested in just this time last year, or up until several months ago, and then suddenly poor Drew got iggyed out back in January or whatever it was, and Jacob he's the cleanest, nicest werewolf you'll ever see. It reminds me of when they tried to get, I swear to God, Rikishi, when he was Fatu in 1995 or whatever, when they cleaned him up and remember the gimmick, he's going to make a difference.
Oh yeah, I could never forget that.
To appeal to the hip, young urban kids and tell them to stay off drugs and, oh Christ. But the point is, when they realized what they had with Jacob Fatu, he was the werewolf. He came in, he was running crazy. I love you, Solo. When they broke him up with Solo, he should have beat the fuck out of Solo. Boom, 1, 2, 3, and got him away from it. And he was starting to get, obviously, the babyface momentum, but work with that, but don't turn him babyface, because the reason he was becoming popular, getting over, is because he was this wild fucking dangerous motherfucker that could do all this shit. So instead of then trying to normalize him, instead, my God, he broke up with Solo because of the bad blood in the bloodline, but now he's on the loose, and you could have him work with anybody. Let him be a kind of a Stone Cold type of guy, where he was turned by the people before they turned him in the ring. But he could, at the same time, he could work with another heel because he's just nuts. And that's where they could have explored the prison background when they said, well, the Bloodlines pull is how that he was able to get signed to a WWE contract because of his record. And now that we got him, what do we do with him? We can't get rid of him. And have the general managers go, my God, this guy's an insurance liability. Whether he's going to hurt one of the fans or somebody that we don't know. And he wouldn't have needed to wrestle every goddamn week. Sometimes just have him do insurance liability things where he's mad at somebody, he's trying to get them, and fucking there's an incident in the parking lot. And just keep him an island unto himself at some level until, and then with the dental problem he had and had to take several months off, violate his probation. Because you should have already been telling the story of he was in prison to begin with. That's why that they didn't have him before. That's why the family didn't even want to bring him in, because he's dangerous. And he's certainly got a mugshot somewhere. Show the fucking thing. Do a package. Even if he never made the news, have some newscaster. California man was arrested today in conjunction with, well, it's over the mugshot. And if did he make the newspaper? Tell the story. But that's when he was young. And then you could start telling the story from people in the family. He was around the wrong people, whatever it was, to make him a sympathetic ex-con who fell in at a young age with the wrong crowd and a poor neighborhood, whatever the fuck. But that's why he's fucking crazy. And then one of the family members, not a wrestler, just a young teenage boy that's his cousin or his nephew or whatever the fuck. Maybe one of them that helps tell the story of how Jacob Fatu wound up on the wrong side of the law is sitting front row some night when the goddamn heel fucking says, fuck you. And that's how you get Jacob Fatu to turn babyface. The heel grabs the kid over the fucking rail and is going to kill him. And here comes Jacob and a blah, blah, blah. I sound like Pat Patterson now, but it's just the highlights, but that's the story. And then you go and you fill it in. And at that point, then you've got all the people on his side because he was a young man that made mistakes. And then you, like I said, you could do a parole violation for shit, paperwork error, and get sympathy on him. And you could give weekly reports. He's still fucking locked up, but he wants to get out bad. Maybe the goddamn heel is the one that turned him in. Instead, they've washed him and cleaned him up and give him spotless tights. And he's not a werewolf. He's a goddamn Newfoundland.
I've never heard that comparison before.
Well, see? Does what I'm saying make any sense to you?
What you're saying is worlds better than what they've done, although I would replace the teenage kid with either an old lady or the Tonga kid. Get him a
Well, I didn't want to beat up an old lady.
No, you get like some old worker who could just take a bump over the rail. One last payday. There has to be another Mae Young somewhere. A Samoan Mae Young.
Hey, they did that with goddamn who was it? Was Eric Weingeroff, George White in ICW in Lexington at the high school gym they used to run. They did a deal where the heels were wrestling George Weingeroff, and Eric is George's little brother. At a time, he was only like 14 or 15. And as they're beating up the baby faces, I can't remember who the heels were. Savage may have been involved, rolls out and grabs Eric Weingeroff and rolls him in and starts kicking his shit out of him. Because Eric was just walking by the ring, right? And they're shooting this for television. And they're going to explain what happened, when they voice it over later. But what the people saw was his fucking heel just rolled out and grabbed this kid from walking down the aisleway and threw him in the ring and started kicking the shit out of him. And it started a riot. They thought he's grabbed one of us. And they fucking hit the ring and a blah, blah, blah. So, but, now that's been overdone too. But you can always tell when it's set up now. Nevertheless, poor Jacob, we knew him well. But now he's just blah. And that had to be gimmick handcuffs too, because if you close legitimate handcuffs, one click, they ain't coming open. So I don't know where they got this fucking bad special effects. That's what I didn't think about. Brian, when I did my ring worn and ring used sale, I still have like 2 or 3 pair of handcuffs from Smoky Mountain Wrestling's Rage in a Cage fucking match. I should put those up for bid somewhere.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And handcuff keys are standard, as we've said many times. So Folks, always remember, carry your handcuff keys.
You
That's a public service
there.
announcement.
Yeah, there's some advice for you criminals out there from Jim Cornette.
Hey, for the past 30-something years, I've carried a handcuff key on my key ring.
But if they arrest you, they're going to take away your keys.
Well, I might have to get somebody else out of something.
Oh. Now, that's just being a good friend, actually.
See? There you see?
Good.
All righty. Speaking of good friends and better enemies, Sami Zayn, then at 10 o'clock on this Eastern on this episode of SmackDown, came out to the ring and started cutting a promo, and I was about talked out. And I got to be honest with you, I was going to zip through the whole thing, but Trick came out with Little Yachty, and I just love them now. They're a pair to be reckoned with. And it's the way they know what they're doing here, and they're doing a very good job of this because Trick was a heel, but people were starting to like him. And Sami's a babyface, but they have been slowly telling the story of how Sami's just kind of an insufferable little thing, and people are getting tired of him.
They were booing him as soon as he started talking.
Exactly, because now it's registering. And I think after last week, they've got the idea. Yeah, Sami. So Trick and Yachty come out and said, people are tired of hearing you talk, Sami. And they're like, yes, yeah. And Trick cut a great promo on Sami and ended up getting cheered for saying, I'm going to beat you. And Sami responded, he's not cutting a heel promo, but he's cutting he's just an annoying little fucking asshole that the fans are not going to like. He's not trying to be a heel, but he is being one, if that makes sense. And then Yachty cut a promo on Sami. It was pretty good. I like Little Yachty.
They're great together.
I think, again, I believe that they ought to fucking sign Yachty to be old Trick's, fucking whatever he is. Hype man or spokesman or rap man or whatever. And then they just played Matt Cardona's music, and okay, they went to break, and I don't care, and they had a match. But that was the promo segment.
The fans didn't care too much about that match either, but
I understand there was a sighting of a human piece of broccoli in the second row chewing its cud while this match was going on.
I understand that too. I saw what you retweeted, so I understand that's indeed the case. I have to say, they're booing Sami. They're right to. It's the way it's been portrayed. Other fans, independent of that, are kind of sick of him. But he did a great job here. Like this whole thing, up until the Matt Cardona part where his music plays. And, again, it doesn't really motivate the fans when it's like, always ready. Okay, that's just great. As opposed to everyone else who's just sitting around, I guess. But the fans didn't give a shit. And that's kind of where I think everyone just stopped caring about the segment.
But the next segment was another one of these, wow, you can't believe your eyes segments. Danhausen made his wrestling debut, Brian, on SmackDown in the WWE, and he wrestled Kit Wilson. I got to say, for once, Kit Wilson looked like a large, giant athlete of a man.
I'm watching this and I'm thinking of all the feedback we've received the last couple of weeks. And I'm like, maybe we are too hard on him. Maybe we are too hard on this idea that there's magic and it's just all coincidences. And then the fucking pyro went up the guy's ass. And I said, I don't know anymore.
Oh. I tell you what, I don't want to hear anybody make fun of me anymore for 30 years ago wrestling Brian Hildebrand in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costume at the Tally Ward Rec Center in Morristown on Kids Night. This was literally a county fair spot show match from the old days on national television. And Danhausen, of course, billed as from 1311 Mockingbird Lane. He's next door to the Munsters.
Nice touch.
It was a good touch. But they did a couple of old-fashioned spot show spots. And at one point, Danhausen slid out of the ring and put his arm around Miz, who was looking at the people, and Miz thought that it was Kit. And so he's smiling and everything. I mean, it was a spot show. And then a little heat. Kit took over, got some heat on him. And then finally, Kit is going to finish him off. And he's got Danhausen laid out in the middle of the ring. And he climbs to the top rope. And as he stands up on the top rope, Danhausen sits up and looks at him. And he goes to the left, you. And he goes to the right, or. And he points at Kit, cursed. And pyro comes out of the top of the ring post up Kit Wilson's ass. And Kit Wilson, of course, reacts as anyone does when pyro is blown up your anal orifice. And he fucking goes, woo! And he jumps up and he crotches himself on the top turnbuckle. He jumps up and he falls down a crotch first. Woo! And then he falls in the ring. And then Miz pops up and Danhausen spins around and gives Miz an eye poke. Blink! And down goes Miz. Whoop, 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 whoop. And then he kicked Kit Wilson in the head, which apparently is his finish. 1, 2, 3. Jesus Christ.
Needs a better finish. That was my big thing.
There could be, well, I don't know that we should say he needs a finish. I'm hoping he's not going to be winning that many wrestling matches. But yes, the magical pyro up the poop chute spelled the end for young Kit Wilson against Mockingbird Lane's contribution to the wrestling industry. Danhausen. You are kidding.
You guys are too hard on him. The referee just happened to have a hand that couldn't count anymore. And then this. And then the fireworks up the ass. Like,
at least they didn't come out of his ass. But you know what? That might have been better. You know what? If he could have pointed at Kit Wilson and fireworks would have come out of his ass and boosted him up in the air like a rocket, I would have gone for that. I would have just said, there goes Kit Wilson. He's chasing the Artemis II as he goes out of the arena.
That could be his new gimmick, Ass Rocket. Where will he land?
And his finish could be the Ass Blaster.
Well, now, I mean, the sad part is, in terms of what it means for professional wrestling, I think it's such a giant step back, but in terms of comedy, I can't wait to see what curse happens next week. What calamity could happen next? After you do the fireworks up the ass, what could follow that? I actually want to know, so they got me.
You know, I think we said something that's apropos a couple of years ago when this whole thing started with TKO going to buy, that Vince was going to sell, and that the business was the major promotion in the world was going to be out of wrestling people hands for the first time ever. And what might happen? And could it get it if Vince was over the top with the entertainment? Could it get worse with somebody who hadn't at least had some level of knowledge of and respect for any kind of wrestling tradition or for the business in general, or at least the effort it takes to be one of the top guys? Because Vince always recognized the effort and the physical effort and the mental effort, the determination it took to be a top guy in wrestling. That's why he rewarded some people sometimes incommensurate with their ability, whatever the case. But now we've got, magic tricks and leprechauns and lollipops and fucking pyro from the ass and jelly rolls.
Hey, listen, if Orange Cassidy was a free agent, they would try to sign him. And if they signed him, we would get like, I don't know if you've seen this guy yet. He's really amazing. He sticks his hands in his pockets. They would make it the big thing there, and they would sell a bunch of merch off that. It's the state of the wrestling industry. There are no more barriers between goofy indie stuff and what gets on TV.
Because there's no more barriers between goofy indie people and access. It's just that now we're finding out some of the goofy indie people also have billions of dollars at their disposal, whether it be goofy indie wrestlers or goofy indie fans. This is now what the business is in the hands of, is goofy indiness. So maybe they should, what happened to, I thought I could vamp long enough that I'd remember his name. The goddamn magician that was Chris Angel was all the rage on television. Mind freak. Like 15 years ago, did a hell of a television show, had some arms on him, looked like he worked out. You could see him doing a fucking wrestling angle. Where's he now? They could get him. He could make some of these sumbitches disappear.
All right, a weird plug for Chris Angel here in the middle.
Well, I'm just thinking, why don't they just open the floodgate? They're in Vegas. That was his thing. He was in Vegas. He did magic in the various venues in Vegas.
Why don't we do something for the tag team? Why don't we get Penn and Teller? Maybe they can come out there and do something.
Actually, I think Chris Angel is more hip and young than Penn and Teller for this, modern hipster crowd we got going on here.
I don't know how hip and young Chris Angel is in 2026. Penn and Teller are timeless.
Well, who's the big magician now then?
The big one's right Penn, and the tiny mute is
No, I don't mean the big. I mean, who is the top musician?
Top musician is I don't know that.
Who's the top magician in the world today? It used to be like, we know it's David Copperfield, or it's fucking David Blaine, or it's this guy or that guy. Who's the big head honcho today?
Copperfield was in trouble already, and then they found out he was in the Epstein files, so he's completely done.
No.
Oh, yeah, he was.
David Copperfield? I saw him
David Copperfield. That's right. That's right.
I saw him one time live like 30 years ago. It was amazing. What'd he do?
I'm sure he did all sorts of naughty stuff. And then he also, beyond any sexual shenanigans, which you can Google, he also had an apartment in New York that he trashed. He flooded some penthouse at the top of a building. He destroyed it, but
well, maybe he was doing a thing where he escapes out of the fucking box underwater and just it overflowed.
Well, either way, I would go with Penn and Teller over Chris Angel.
Well, you know what I'd go with? Bringing this show to an end, ladies and gentlemen.
But there was a main event. Whoa! What about the main event?
Io Sky and Jade Cargill. Yeah, I was talked out, celebrityed out, and fucking cursed out at that point. So what happened?
Jade eventually beat Io. The crowd didn't seem to give a shit about any of this. Rhea beat up Mia Yim or Michin and B-Fab throughout the night in the back. She would find them and attack them off camera, and then you would see them all beat up. And Jade knew that.
And then apparently it was a pretty good ass kicking because they couldn't come out and help their friend an hour later.
Yeah. I mean, Rhea's tough.
Well, there you go.
And that was SmackDown.
Certainly was.
Any closing thoughts?
Yes, I had a closing thought a minute ago, and you stopped me from closing. My closing thought is WrestleMania is coming up in just a week, not even now, is by the time the people hear this. And Thank goodness for Brock and Oba and Punk and Roman, because I think they have successfully neutered my interest in anything else on the show.
Which night gets The Rock?
He ain't going to show up as a surprise, because then he gets none of the credit for drawing the thing. But if he also gets none of the blame for if they don't like what it draws, and he can claim scheduling difficulties. I don't think he wants any on him at this point.
Well, we'll see what happens. WWE in an interesting state of creative destruction, self-induced destruction, it seems like. They got rid of, they didn't get rid of. Brian Armstrong left. All of a sudden, there's a female head writer of Raw who has no experience with professional wrestling in any way. Can't even speak about the state of SmackDown. The show has fallen off a cliff. But then again, it also seems like the creative team's not fully running that show. There are literally voices from above telling people, just show up at SmackDown and do whatever the fuck you want.
I hear voices from above. They're telling me to give McAfee a shove. They're Ari's voice.
I'll give them credit.
Ari's voice.
I'll give them credit, though. I can't wait to talk to you about Raw on the drive-thru and SmackDown next week and Mania, but not for the right reasons. Just because it seems like each show is like another rung of the train wreck at this point.
Well, and if we're getting a tag match in May, unless they rethink that, but with Jelly and Pat and Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice, that whole, and then we're going to have to see this weekly for some time to come. The fans do not like this much celebrity nonsense.
It's going to be nonstop because it's going to be every day on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN.
Well, we don't have to listen to that, though.
We don't. I'm saying those fans are going to get sick of it, too, because it's going to be...
I'm saying I don't care about those fans. I'm saying, well, I don't care about it. They can all drive all their fans off they want, for all I care. But the fans of SmackDown are not going to stick through 6 more weeks of Jelly Roll saving the day on a consistent basis, I don't think.
Well, we will see what happens. That was SmackDown, and this is your show.
I was about to say, now I have a final thought. Since we've got to get plenty of rest before WrestleMania week down. Before WrestleMania week down, we're going to lay down and get a good night's sleep. That's what we're going to do.
Well, we have the AEW pay-per-view coming up.
Oh, Christ, I forgot about that, but I'm only going to watch like half of that, if that.
No, come on. You have to go over the top and catch up on everything.
13 fucking match. Oh, tune into the drive-thru in a few days and see what I do, and that's the only thing I can tell you. And then we'll see what they do. Good Lord. Are they just trying to get in the week before and just make people not want to see any more wrestling to sabotage WrestleMania? Is that their MO this year? We'll fix it. And they'll go 7 hours. It'd be like Vince used to in the building the night before an NWA show. They'll go till 1 a.m. and tire everybody out.
WWE does not need anyone's help in sabotaging WrestleMania this year.
All right. Well, anyway, tune in next week for more sabotage, and next week also on the drive-thru for more of AEW's various indiscretions. And until then, thank you, fuck you, and bye-bye, everybody.